Copy link for mobile, video LAN. It's interesting. Where is Jerome? Stefano, vedo grafiche sul feed del broadcast. Togliti di lì.
Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome along, well, virtually at least, to Circuit Zandvoort for the third round of the EuroNASCAR Esports Series in conjunction with iRacing, with support from i-cin.com and Sim Racing League. What an evening we have got ahead of us here at what is really the home of Dutch racing, four-wheeled racing at least. The circuit can trace its history back to the 1940s. The inaugural race took here in August of 1948, and of course it continued to feature on the Formula One calendar until 1985 and was scheduled to have returned to the Formula One calendar in 2020. But like everything, it's on hold at the moment, and e-racing is the way that we seem to be going. We're going to be circulating on the 2.676 mile circuit, or 4.3 kilometers there or thereabouts. And if you've tuned into any of the previous racing action, you'll have seen some great racing in the prologue event that we had at Daytona on the road course. The first championship event took place at Brands Hatch on the Indy circuit, and from there we moved to Watkins Glen a fortnight ago for round 2 of the championship. Well, we've whittled it down from over 70 drivers to 60 drivers for the qualifying session that is in the process of just finishing off, and we'll tell you a little bit about how that format is going to work over the course of the next few minutes. But prior to that, maybe we ought to have a quick look at how the championship stands coming into the third round of the championship, because we've seen some great racing from some very, very popular drivers and some very quick drivers, both in terms of real racing, some of them in terms of iRacing, and some of them that are fortunate enough to have both sets of experience. So the way that the format is going to work, as we say, is that we will see 60 drivers through into the heats. Each one of those then will set 2 lap times, and it's the best lap time that will dictate whether they drop into Heat 1, Heat 2, or Heat 3. Each of the heats will have 20 drivers in it. The top 10 in each one of those heats will go through automatically to the main championship race, and that's the one that carries the championship points. If you're outside of the top 10, there's still one more chance to qualify, though. The remaining drivers will all go into the last chance qualification race, where only the top 6 will go through. So 10 from Heat 1, 10 from Heat 2, 10 from Heat 3. The rest go into the final chance race, and the top 6 of that go through to make it 36 cars on the grid for our championship race. Joining me in the virtual commentary box is Andre Vijgaard. We'll have a quick chat to him before we then maybe catch up with some other drivers and some of the other guests that we've got lined up ready for us. But a quick run through the points before we do that. Lasse Sorensen tops the points. He's only won one race, and that was a last chance qualification race. But the big Dane has accumulated 71 points because of consistency so far this year. So he leads the championship from Alan Day on 68 points. And Loris Hasemans, the reigning champion, is just 1 point adrift. It's all very close at the beginning of the season. Jeffrey Ruffin has won more races than anybody. He's had 3 heat wins so far and has gone well in all of the final races. So he sits there 4th. Andre Castro, who's had wins, sits there in 5th place. And Andreas Jukemsen for DF1 Racing completes the top 6. 3 cars from DF1 inside the top 3. But this is just the early part of the season. 40 points for a race win, 35 for second, all the way down to 1 single point if you're 36th. When we get to the playoffs, it's double points. It's even more important to finish well. So Andre Vijgaard joins me in the virtual commentary box. Andre, we've already seen some great racing so far this season. I bet that there is no chance at all that we're going to see anything different than that as we head around Zandvoort's Grand Prix circuit.
Yes, right. First of all, welcome everybody to the third round of the EuroNASCAR Esports Series. I'm glad that so many people join us here in the virtual world. And yes, the Circuit Park Zandvoort is a very demanding track, very narrow, very technical track. I think this is one of the tracks where people say it's hard to overtake, and it's really true. And we saw, including the prologue, 3 different winners in 3 races. So maybe a 4th winner today in the 4th race. We see a great competition in this virtual racing championship. So I expect a very thrilling and exciting race today.
We'll be hearing from Andre throughout the course of this evening, but we've got some other guests that join us in the virtual commentary box. We'll bring in, first of all, the CEO of EuroNASCAR, Jerome Galpin. Jerome, it's great to be back at the circuit, albeit virtually, for what's been a busy week generally for NASCAR. We saw racing continue in the Cup Series at Darlington on Sunday. We should, subject to weather, see the Xfinity race getting underway this evening as America returns to racing. And some exciting news also from EuroNASCAR as we build our, albeit revised, season. Sorry, Jerome, we can't hear you there. You might just need to unmute your microphone.
Maybe better that way. Yeah, so hi everybody. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It was a busy week, and it was a real pleasure for, I think, all of us and all the race fans in the world to see NASCAR back on track with exciting races. Hopefully, we are also working on our side, on the European side, to get back on track. Due to multiple countries and situation in Europe, we will have to delay a bit our restart in Europe. But we have announced this morning that the new date for the NASCAR Most event. So we are very happy with this new season coming, hopefully starting in September, and we already confirmed 5 of our 7 events in Vallelunga, Zolder, Hockenheim, Most, and Valencia. And we wait for some updates from UK with Brands Hatch and Venray to be able to confirm the final calendar. So hopefully we should be able to unveil the what will be the 2020 NASCAR Whelen Euro Series calendar very soon.
And it's an exciting year ahead as well. You know, we've had a record amount of championship entries. So 33 cars having sent in entries for the course of the season. It looks as though when we get it underway, it's going to be a busy and very important year.
Absolutely, it will be very busy. We have a record entries. Everybody is getting started, and we exchange with our teams and drivers, and we are all super excited. We will have to wait again some weeks or months, but when it will be time to start, it will be a really fun year.
Well, we'll hear a bit more from Jerome throughout the course of the evening. There's another very important guest that I want to bring in, because without the assistance of his company, we wouldn't even be here doing it. And that is the iRacing sales manager and director, Otto Zebany, who joins us. Thanks for joining us, Otto. It's great to have your support in what is a perfect platform, and you've given us amazing cooperation already.
Perfect platform. That is complimentary, and I will accept it. It is my pleasure to be here, guys. We are very excited about this series. I have been talking with my friend Jerome here for years on how we can do something together, and it just seems like, we both have these ideas and we can't, kind of meet at a crossroad. And so when NASCAR Whelen Euro Series said, let's take this virtually. Now with this pandemic, this standstill, there must be motorsport in the world. And fans are dying for some sort of diversion. And so this came together very quickly, but in reality, iRacing has been working on this platform for over a decade. So we were just positioned to be in the right place to be able to assist in all types of motorsports around the world. But I mean, especially with, Jerome and NASCAR Whelen Euro Series, I love stock cars. I'm a NASCAR guy, right? And with his brand of mixing it in with the European road racing and stuff, I don't think there's a better form of racing out there, whether that's in real world or in the virtual world. And I think we're seeing that, and I think we will continue seeing that throughout the series. And I'm excited to see how it plays out.
Just one final quick question, if I could, Otto, and that is, I was new to iRacing when we started this. I've done some racing myself on other platforms, but had never seen iRacing, but had heard nothing but good things about it. You must have seen an influx of a whole new customer base coming in to look at what you have available in iRacing.
Yeah, I mean, so as awful as the situation is, iRacing has been riding the wave, not only with member acquisition, but with revenue. I mean, these last couple of months have been tremendous for us. And I think that's good for the entire ecosystem. I think the more people that are familiar with what iRacing is, that they can do all types of racing on the platform. It's a low barrier of entry for those that want to get involved in motorsports and maybe take it to that next level. So, yeah, I mean, it's great as the world kind of starts to get back to normalcy a little bit here. I think we'll continue to see growth, and I'm very excited again, not only to partner with NASCAR Whelen Euro Series, but all these sanctioning bodies around the world, and I think we'll continue to see growth, not only with the virtual world, but the virtual moving into reality. So it's a very exciting time.
Well, thanks for joining us, Otto, and thank you very much for your support as well. So as we start to look forward towards the end of qualifying, it looks like Jeffrey Ruffin is top of the times at the moment. So Tobias Dauenhauer is second, and Alessandro Brigatti is in third place. But what I want to do is look at some of the highlights that we saw in real racing last year. As Jerome Galpin said, we've just announced a new date where we head to Most in the Czech Republic, or Czechia, which can be found on EuroNASCAR.com, the website. But let's look back.
Guys, I leave the live commentary for tonight, okay?
Okay. Live.
Good job.
So the first heat is now lining up on the grid, and as we look at who's in there, heat number 1, it will be Jeffrey Ruffin that starts from pole position. He has been the most successful driver we've had in the EuroNASCAR Esports Series so far. 3 wins he has claimed so far, each one of those coming in a heat. He's got Ulysse Delceau lining up alongside him. The championship leader, Lasse Sorensen for DF1 Racing, lines up in the number 66 on row number 2, and row number 3, alongside him on row number 2 is number 342, which is Alex Fontana. The third row of the grid sees number 53 line up on the inside of the third row of the grid. That is Poveda alongside car number 105, which is Marion Kremers. The fourth row of the grid is going to be number 118, which is Vittorio Garelli alongside Lorenzo Marcucci. And we can see a bit of shuffling as they head off the start-finish line. It just sort of affects the order of the heat. But either way, Andre, we've got some quick drivers in this one. We've seen some fantastic stuff done by Jeffrey Ruffin so far this season, with those 3 wins having come over the course of the races that we've been involved with. The championship leaders in this one as well, Lasse Sorensen, who might not have claimed a win other than the consolation race, but as ever, he's gone well.
Yes, right. I think Jeffrey Ruffin is one of those guys who is going to be in the victory lane very soon. He's very competitive. He has consistency on his side. He's very fast. So I think we have to keep an eye on this guy. He has his home race now at Circuit Park Zandvoort, his virtual home race. So maybe a little bit more extra motivation today here at Zandvoort. So take an eye on the 307 of Jeffrey Ruffin. Also, Ulysse Delceau has a good development in the virtual world. And then, of course, the championship leader, Lasse Sorensen. No win today, but until today, but I think he's very fast. He's able to win one of those EuroNASCAR Esports Series races. And also, like in the EuroNASCAR 2 Championship in the last year, consistency is the key. And Lasse Sorensen is one of those guys who's never crashing, never have any issues. So I think Lasse Sorensen is one of those guys we have to look for today.
Okay, apologies, there was a slight technical issue as we were trying to run a video, and that's why we're a little bit late, so just getting onto the rolling lap. If you weren't familiar, then the cars are numbered in a particular way. So cars numbered 0 to 99 are for EuroNASCAR Pro drivers. That was what used to be called Elite 1, so that's for the professional drivers at the highest level of European NASCAR racing. Cars numbered 100 to 199 is for EuroNASCAR 2 drivers, so that was previously called Elite 2, and that's for the young and for the amateur drivers. Cars number 200 to 299 are for EuroNASCAR Club Challenge drivers. That was previously called Elite Club, and that's the sort of regularity test that happens over, not every, but some of the weekends in the EuroNASCAR. Cars numbered in the 300, so 300 to 399 are for EuroNASCAR team members, and if the car starts with a 400, that's a EuroNASCAR circuit that have entered a car, or a guest, or somebody from the Team FJ All-Stars. And as you can see in this heat, we do have car number 420 out, which is Gabriela Gilcava, who is representing the Autodrome Most car, and is going to hope that she can maybe gain a couple of places, because of course it's only the top 10 from this one that will automatically go through to the main race, which of course has the championship points attached to it. If you're outside of the top 10, doesn't mean that you're done for the night. It just means that you've got to drop into the last chance qualifiers race and then try and finish inside the top 6 in that. It's only the top 36 drivers over the course of the evening that will go through to the main championship race, where those points are up for grabs. Now remember, we're not on the remodeled 2020 version of Zandvoort. iRacing are in the process of doing the mapping of that and the digital scan of the circuit as and when it's fully reopened, and I'm sure it will be a great addition to iRacing's fantastic catalogue of circuits over the course of the coming weeks. Now this is going to be just a 10-minute race, so there's not long to get things underway. Jeffrey Ruffin, remember, with 3 wins rather so far this year. He's the most winningest driver. He won Heat 3, which was his heat that he qualified in on Daytona Road Course at the Prologue. He won his heat, which was Heat 3 again at Brands on the Indy Circuit, and he won Heat 2 a fortnight ago at Watkins Glen. This time he qualified fastest of the 60 drivers in the qualifying session, which means that he takes up pole for heat number 1. The second quickest of those 60 drivers in qualifying takes up pole for heat number 2. The third quickest, pole for heat number 3, and so on and so on. We ride on board with former EuroNASCAR 2 champion Ulysse Delceau, but it's a good start from Jeffrey Ruffin as we get the evening underway here at Zandvoort. The cars pile up in one great big pack of cars up towards Tarzan for the first time. The first of the banked right-handers where they work their way through. Ulysse Delso trying to hang it out round the outside at Tarzan, up towards Gerlach box, which is turn number 2 here, which has a slight left kink before you then turn in towards the right-hander. Very technical part of the circuit, this, as they then head up towards Hungelholz box and then start to build the speeds now around through Hunsrück and then start to head up towards Rod Stollermacher as the speeds build through the sweeping left and right corners. Out front, Jeffrey Rufen leads the race. Ulysse Delso sitting there in second position. Lasse Sorensen, though, right behind him at the wheel of the DF1 Chevy. Lasse, remember, is the championship leader and will be hoping they can really apply the pressure to the Frenchman. Both of them, of course, having formerly claimed championships in EuroNASCAR 2. Sorensen, the reigning champion. Ulysse Delso, champion from a year or so prior. Good start, though, from everybody, Andre. Nice and neat and tidy. We've tended to see that in the heats, haven't we? People just want to make sure they get around the first couple of corners, finish the heat in a reasonable position, and then hopefully automatically qualify into the main championship race.
Yeah, that's right. In the heats, we saw very calm starts, very easy starts without any big crashing. And I think it's because they all know I need to get into the top 10. It doesn't matter if you win the race or get into the 8th spot, for example. It's all about advancing to the main race. But in the main race, we saw some very big carnage last time at Watkins Glen, the big one with more than 20 cars, I think, involved. You can check it on the EuroNASCAR YouTube channel. We have some spectacular footage of this crash. And yeah, but I think not being in trouble, staying out of trouble is the key to being successful in those heats and then building up the momentum to get into the top 10. And we see already a very nice three-way battle at front with Jeffrey Rufen, then Ulysse Delso, who's under pressure by Lasse Sorensen, who's really, really fast. I think he could be a little bit faster than Ulysse Delso right now, but let's see if he's able to overtake. I said it before, Zandvoort is not the track where you find an easy spot to overtake, I think.
It's not easy at all. We did see a brief spin for Chris Lehman, who is the marketing and driver representative for Marco Steep Motorsport, joining us for this race here. So he has sort of now dropped down into 17th position. There must have been a problem also for both Advait Jodar and Thomas Ferrando, because Advait's in the pits and Thomas showing as being out of the race at the moment. So there has been a couple of little things happen. The top 3, though, still together. Jeffrey Rufen at his home circuit, looking to try and pull away, particularly as Ulysse Delso will be watching his mirrors a little bit. The two Chevys busy fighting away at the moment. Jeffrey Rufen is in the Ford that leads. Where's the lead Toyota? It's Aurélien Dillier, who's down in, what's that going to be, 10th position at the moment. Is the leading Toyota that we have in the field, but what a battle it is for second and third position. Ulysse Delso trying to hang on to it, just 22 years of age. Ulysse Delso, he was the EuroNASCAR 2 champion back in 2018. He announced he'd be doing both EuroNASCAR 2 and EuroNASCAR Pro this year. So when we get racing underway, he's going to be a very, very busy chap. There is Marin Kremers as well, as we then look back towards Francisco Garisto, car number 142, Francisco Garisto, who is a driver we've seen coming through the all-important recruitment program for EuroNASCAR, and he is looking to try and see whether he can gain a place here, Garisto. He's got Max Palumbo right ahead of him. As for second position now, Lasse Sorensen picks up the curb on the apex to try and get a run on Ulysse Delso, but Ulysse having none of it as they continue to build the speeds, heading around through Rob Slotemacher, and then heading up towards Suralac, the long sweeping right-hander, and then from there it's onto the brakes and in towards the right-hander at Masters Corner, which is where they're heading now, nicely grabbing the apex. Ulysse Delso looking back from his second place car at Lasse Sorensen. The two Chevys still absolutely together, round through turn 9 up towards turn number 10, which is the left-hander, and then from there the speeds build again, but there is an overtaking opportunity at the end of this straight that's coming up. Hans Erst Corner is a sort of a tight right-hander followed by a longer left-hander, and that could be the opportunity for Lasse Sorensen, but he's just not close enough. Marin Kremers going through in 6th position, looking to try and apply a little bit of pressure to the car that sits directly ahead of him. That's car number 413, which is Antonio Ortiz, the telemetry engineer representing Circuit Ricardo Tormo. Showing a different name on the graphic, but without question that is the car of Antonio Ortiz. There we go. So through he goes, and going really, really well. I've got to say, it's somebody I don't know huge amounts about Andre. I know he is the telemetry engineer at Circuit of Valencia, so he spends a lot of time on the race school there, teaching people about how to read the telemetry, how to improve their driving. But certainly here, in his first outing in the EuroNASCAR E-Series, going rather well.
Yeah, right. I think he has one advantage, to know all those dangers and how to interpret them. I think this is also an advantage to go into the sim racing world. You know, on iRacing you have the opportunity to read all those telemetry data, put it into different programs, analyze them and so on. So you can see where do you accelerate, where are your braking points and stuff like that. You can do anything on those iRacing platform stuff when you have the right program. And yep.
I think it's worth mentioning all the cars are on a standard setup, so he can't tweak the setup based on that telemetry, but he can understand where he's getting things right and how he can improve.
Yeah, that's right. It's all about the driving style. Where can I brake a little bit later? Where can I accelerate a little bit earlier and stuff like that to improve lap by lap? And I think knowing all about those telemetry data and how to read them is an advantage in the virtual world, in my opinion. Let's see how we can manage this stuff in the heat right now, but I think this battle on the second place, I still have it on my screen right now. It's tremendous. I have to be honest. I cannot get my eyes from it. Lasse Sørensen versus Elise Delsol. It's just tremendous. Great racing what we see there.
Yeah, of course, you're watching the stream, which has a very, very slight delay. I'm in game and therefore absolutely live in terms of the pictures that will go out. What a battle it is. You're absolutely right, though, for the lead of the race. Ulysse Delso doing a fantastic job of holding off the reigning EuroNASCAR 2 champion, Lasse Sørensen, who is going to step up to EuroNASCAR Pro this year. He'll certainly be one to watch. Say he has only claimed one win. That was the last chance race at Brands Hatch on the Indy circuit where he started. It would have been 31st position, I think, he started, and came through in the main race to finish 5th, I think it was, if memory serves me correctly. So he really did pick his way through in the main race and scored a raft of championship points when it was looking as though he might have a poor night. And that's why he leads the championship coming into this one. He's made the best of a bad job, particularly at Brands Hatch. So all of this squabbling for second and third is just allowing Jeffrey Ruffin to pull away. Every evening of e-racing that we've had in the EuroNASCAR Esports Series, Jeffrey Ruffin has claimed a win so far. Each one of them has come in a heat, both at Daytona at Brands and at Watkins Glen, and at the moment he is doing it again here this evening, leading his heat. The gap back to Ulysse Delso was around a second, so that's the gap first to second. It's about half of that from second to third, so about 0.4, 0.5 of a second, drops to about 0.3 when they head into the corners, but no mistakes being made by Ulysse Delso. Let's have a quick look at what happened here, and this is Chris Lehman, who's already had a spin at Tarzan, tries to get up the inside of Ricardo Alita, who is the team photographer for Not Only Motorsport, but had another rotation. So Chris Lehman, we know him well, Andre, but it's usually media that he's involved with. He's having his first outing with us in iRacing, and not quite having the evening he would have wanted.
Yes, you're absolutely right. It's his first race in iRacing. I think he got the simulators only a few days ago. He practiced, of course, a lot, but of course he cannot be on the same pace as the guys who have a lot of experience on the simulators. I know him very well, you're right, because we're living in the same town here in Germany, so we are working really well together all the time. And yeah, the Markus Stipp Motorsport make it possible for him to be part of this esports race here today. So the teams are taking this series very seriously, like Markus Stipp Motorsport took a look, okay, where can we get another driver involved? And with Chris Lehman, who also raced for fun and karting and stuff like that before, they said, okay, let's put them into the virtual cockpit of our team.
Here we go. Lasse Sørensen might have the run here. He's got up the inside, and I think he's just made it stick. Yeah, up into second place. Ulysse Delso fights back, though, and then he's going to have the inside line for the next of the corners. So side by side through two corners there. And who's going to come out on top? I think Ulysse Delso might just hang on to it here, but Sørensen has a better run on him by the look of things as they head up towards the next right-hander, and somehow Ulysse Delso has hung on to the position by the look of things. So through Hans Erkbach they go, the tight right-hander followed by the left, down the short straight and up towards Kumo, which is the next of the right-handers, and from there it's the final corner, Ari Leyendijk. They will head round through the one that's been entirely reprofiled and banked for the Formula One modifications, which, as we say, iRacing, I'm sure, are in the process of digitally mapping that new circuit as and when they're able to do it. So here we go, Lasse Sorensen again looking to try and get a run on him, but on the run to the line, it's not going to work. He will finish in third position, Lasse Sorensen. So it is another heat win for Jeffrey Roof, and Ulysse Delceau will come through in second position. Remember, it's only the top 10 that go through to the main championship race. The others all go into the last chance qualifying race. Lasse Sorensen is in third place. Alex Fontana in fourth position. Alex Fontana, great to see him having a good run. Test driver for 42 Racing nowadays, but got as high as GP3 and Formula Renault 3.5 in his single-seater career. Vittorio Garelli finishes in sixth place. Seventh place is going to be Gabriele Gilcava, that finishes in seventh place. Is that? No, that is Antonio Ortiz that finishes in seventh position, as the cars then file their way background and into the pit lane area, as we now already get ready for heat number 2 that will be coming up. But Jeffrey Ruffin has done it again. He claims the win. We'll have a chat to him in a split second. Ulysse Delceau in second place, confirmation of the results. Lasse Sorensen in third. Alex Fontana in fourth place. Malan Kramer's in fifth place. Vittorio Garelli in sixth position. Antonio Ortiz finishes in seventh place. Lorenzo Marcucci in eighth. Gordon Barnes in ninth. And Aurélien Dillier finishes in the top 10. Anybody below that will have one more chance, but they'll have to fight it out in the last chance qualifying race. So Jeffrey Ruffin joins us in live commentary. Jeffrey, you've done it again. Every time we've had a race, you've won a heat. Well done.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we had now a really good run in the Orion Hendricks Motorsport Q7. Expect that quali lap, so...
A circuit that you clearly love. Your home race, you could argue.
Yeah, that's true, but I don't practice a lot here, so... I was a bit surprised about it.
You'd never get... I mean, fastest in qualifying as well, Jeffrey. It bodes for a very good evening for you, fingers crossed.
Yeah, I hope so. The final will be excited, so... Yeah, we'll see. The start will be important.
We've seen you finish. Your best result of the season so far was fourth last time out at Watkins Glen. A podium, maybe a win this evening?
I hope there we are going for.
I would expect nothing other. Well done, Jeffrey Roof, and congratulations on the heat win. Andre, any questions from you before we let him go?
I think we can let him get into concentration because he has a big final race ahead of him. So everything's fine on my side.
There you go, Jeffrey. We'll let you loose. Off you go, so you can focus on his efforts. Congratulations to him. Hopefully we'll see a bit more of him later on. So Heat 2 coming up. Same format again, a 10-minute race. Top 10 go through automatically into the main championship race. Anybody from 11th downwards has to fight it out in the last chance race. I notice most successful NASCAR Whelen Euro Series driver ever, 3 times champion, and with the most wins as well, 22 career wins. Ander Villarino is off the back of the grid in this one, so he's got some work to do. It is Tobias Dauenhauer that has qualified on pole position for Hendricks Motorsport at the wheel of his Ford. Andre Castro, who has been a winner so far this year, Andre Castro, he's won a couple of heats, the prologue event and at Brands Indy. He's there in second place on the grid. The second row of the grid sees car number 311, Bavo Fallon, who's gone well throughout the course of the races we have so far, lining up alongside the American driver, number 70, Eric Filgueras. And then row number 3 of the grid, it is 479, which is Michael Breitigam, alongside car number 189, which is Davide Dallara. Now, Michael Breitigam, excuse my pronunciation with that one, Andre. Again, somebody you know well as well. He's the editor for Motoring Press in Stuttgart, and is a very experienced sim racer.
Yes, he is. First of all, I take the German flag and say Michael Bräutigam, that's his name. And yeah, he's a motorsport journalist. He has a lot of real racing experience. He has a lot of sim racing experience. I think he's racing online for more than 10 years. So let's see what he can make in this race, what he's capable of. But I think he had not so much time to practice here with the Cup cars at Zandvoort. And to be in those NASCAR cars on such a track is very difficult. It's hard to adopt and you need a lot of time to practice. And I think Michael did not have a lot of time on those in those cars on this track. So let's see. I think it's going to be very, very difficult for him. But maybe we see him in the top 10.
And if you notice, showing on the graphic in 10th position, Bleaky Molen, well, it is a third member of the Bleaky Molen family that's making his debut in EuroNASCAR. We've seen Michael and Sebastian out racing for real in the last couple of seasons with us, but Jerome Bleaky Molen, who knows this circuit like the back of his hand, is sort of on the bubble, really. If he can stick where he is in terms of grid position in the race, when they come the checkered flag, he'll just about scrape it through into the main race, but he can't afford to get picked off by a couple of cars, otherwise he's got to roll his sleeves up and slug it out in the last chance race. So there's work to be done there for your own Bleaky Molen, a circuit he knows well. Andre Castro is going to want to try and do something from the outside of the front row of the grid. He has had a good season so far in the EuroNASCAR Esports Series. He finished third at Brands Hatch. He was 14th at Watkins Glen last time out, where he, like many other drivers, got tangled up in, well, the big one, there's an understatement. It was a colossal accident. There was so much graphic requirement on my laptop that it actually collapsed and fell over when the accident happened, and took us a few minutes to get everything rebooted. But I've subsequently seen the footage, and yeah, there weren't many cars that weren't involved. But we're about to get heat number 2 underway. Remember, 10-minute race, top 10 go through. Lights are about to come on, and who is going to lead the charge up towards Tarzan for the first time? Tobias Bauernhauer gets a good run, but there's contact further back, and it looks as though Ander Villarino is caught out amongst several other cars that are spinning around towards the tail end of the field. I think caught up in that was also Stefano Gustavaya at the wheel of the yellow Cal Racing car, so he'll drop right away towards the tail end of the field. And Fabrizio Ametta was also, I think, tangled up. Maybe Scott Jeffs as well might have got caught in that one. But out front, it is Tobias Bauernhauer that leads from Andre Castro in second place as we go on board with American driver for Michoud Motors, Eric Filgueiras, on board his Chevy. Looking back at Bavo Fallon, who runs the PK Car Sport. Car number 311 right behind him, Bavo Fallon. And then after that, it's car number 479, which is Michael Brautigam, looking to see whether he can do good things there in 5th place. But other than that tangle at the back, the front of the race all got away rather well, and Bavo Fallon is another driver that's impressed me throughout the course of this season that we've had so far. Let's just have a quick look at the replay. We're looking at Scott Jeffs. There's a few cars that are a chink out from behind. Ander Villarino gets a great run, and I think Ander Villarino there, for me, Andre, just looked as though he was right up against the pit wall, was trying to get past the car of Stefano Gustavaya, and Stefano Gustavaya didn't quite see him, squeezed into the pit wall, and there was a chain reaction.
Yeah, it's always those very difficult starts. Everybody's trying to make a move, try to get into the top 10 very early, and that's what's happening when something went wrong. So yeah, typical chain reaction crash, what we've seen here. But afterwards, we have now a very calm race. Everybody has taken their position, and I think we have a new guest in the commentary booth. It's Jakub Krafek from the Czech Republic, the sales manager of Autodrome Most. So Mark, I hand it over to you.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, so Jakub Krafek joins us in the commentary box, who not only is the sales manager for Autodrome Most, he's also been representing the circuit in the EuroNASCAR E-Series Championship. But great to have you on board, Jakub. In e-racing, the season has had good and bad points for you, but the great news is today that the announcement was made that a bit later than expected, we will be at Autodrome Most in November.
Yeah, hello everyone. Hello to all the fans of Most and fans of NASCAR. Of course, the November is not one of the warmest dates, but we care about our fans, and most important was that they can watch the race in person on a circuit. So, from the experience from last year's, the weather was not so bad in November. Yeah, so I believe that we will have around 6 to 8 degrees, and it will only improve the excitement and thrill of the NASCAR races.
Well, it was certainly warm when we were there last year. It was the warmest one of the season, I think. And yeah, it was the first time we'd visited Autodrome Most. I think the circuit went down really, really well with the drivers and the teams. You gave us fantastic hospitality, but the fans flocked there in their thousands for your first ever event. You must have been delighted.
Yes, of course, we were delighted, and we are looking to build this event further and to bring even more fans and more excitement to Most and to first event of NASCAR in Eastern Europe.
And it's great the fact that you're working with us in terms of real racing, but you're also working with us in terms of the esports series, with various drivers having driven your Autodrome Most car show Toyotas over the course of the last few rounds.
Sorry, I didn't understand the question.
It's great that you're working with us in terms of real racing when we go there, but you're also working with us and entering cars into our esports series with different drivers driving your car.
Yes, we have some guests from our partners from Volkswagen Financial Services, Kia, Bohematic, and it's great that we can have them on board. And I think Michael did a very great job in Watkins Glen by dominating the race. Michael is doing also great in Zandvoort. She's also a real racing driver, and we'll bring Michael also for Zolder, and for next events we'll see who will drive for us.
Well, we thank you for your support, and we'll look forward to heading over to Autodrome Most in November. Thanks for joining us in the commentary box.
Thank you very much. See you at Most.
There we go, Jakob Krafek, who is a driver who has been competing with us in the esports series, but is the sales manager for Autodrome Most. Now, whilst we've been chatting to him, Tobias Dauenhauer is still coming under pressure from Andre Castro. In third place, Eric Filgueiras, though, has dropped away from this pair and is now fighting it out with Bavo Fallon for the final spot on the podium in this second heat. We're at the halfway point of the race as well. We also saw limping into the pit lane Fabrizio Amata on a replay, so not entirely sure what's been the problem with the number 41, the Club Motorsport Chevy, but the man who's been racing in the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series since 2013 would appear to be out of the heat and will have to take his chances in the last chance qualifier. Slight mistake from Eric Filgueiras there, I think, as he turned in towards the left-hander at Hogenholzbocht, and that just allowed Bavo Fallon to close up for a split second. The two of them still pretty much locked together at this stage, but the lead pair continually getting away as well. They've now fallen Andre Weigel, who joins me in commentary, almost 5 seconds adrift at some parts of the circuit. But no matter where you look, there are fights going on, aren't there? We're looking at the fight for 10th and 11th place here. This is for the person who either will just qualify or will just miss out. Nave Talor, the Israeli driver, in 10th position. Simon Palat looking at the moment as though he might just miss out on automatic qualification to the main race.
Yes, right. That's the fight I was watching the whole time right now, because I have a different screen. I can change my camera perspectives and so on. So I watched this race and it's very, very intense. We have in 10th position Nave Talor, the guy who's racing for Solaris Motorsports from Italy. He was a part of the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series in 2019. He did a great job, very young guy from Israel. And then we have Simon Pilate, who will make his EuroNASCAR debut in the 2020 season. So two very young drivers who want to make a mark in the EuroNASCAR, want to put their names on the wall of the champions in the NASCAR Hall of Fame someday. So I think we will see. What we're seeing right now is a fight that we can also see in the 2020 season between two very, very talented and young guys.
I agree. I mean, they're both just 18 years of age at the moment, so they are very much still a match for each other. Nave Talor in the Solaris Motorsport car, Simon Pilate at the wheel of the Feed Vict Racing, which is one of the new teams that joins the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series for the 2020 season. Back to the fight for third and fourth place, and Bavo Fallon is not going away. Eric Filgueiras, the American, is going to have his work cut out here if he wants to try and hang on to the final podium spot. Eric did do 4 NASCAR Whelen Euro races with us in 2019. Cut his teeth, though, as so many drivers do in single-seaters. He was champion in the US Formula Ford 2000 national category back in 2016, having been runner-up in that same category back in 2015, and like so many, originally started his racing career in karts, but he's got his hands very full indeed. Now, are they getting caught by the car behind? I think, Andre, that Michael Broutigam is beginning to close in, but with 2 minutes to go, it's a tough ask to catch, let alone get past, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think he will just stay in 5th place and advance to the main race. I think it's not about getting a better starting position for the main race. It's just being part of it. I think for my German fellow countrymen, they are doing a very great job. Tobias Dauenhauer has a very good chance to win the race. He's from Germany. Then Michael Broutigam in 5th position. He's from Germany. So My guys are doing a very good job right now. I'm very happy about that.
National pride is on their shoulders. Tobias Dauenhauer, who has agreed that he is going to race in the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series EuroNASCAR 2 division with Hendricks Motorsport, 22-year-old for 2020. He came through part of that recruitment program, which gives drivers the opportunity to try and test the car, of which most of them jump out with a big smile on their face and then sign up. But he's done ADAC GT4 and a bit of Blancpain and has raced in the Spa 24-hour previously. Here's your own Bleaky Molen. Now, I did say I thought he would go well. He is putting the Cypriot driver, Vladimir Tjoitsis, under enormous pressure. And I think Vladimir Tjoitsis is one of those drivers. I have seen so much of him on iRacing. He was in a race that I was commentating on Sunday evening, but it seems as though every single night he is involved in an esports championship. More seat time is always a good thing, and at the moment he's doing a very good job of hanging on to 7th position despite the pressure of your own Bleaky Molen. Back to this fantastic fight for the final spot for automatic qualification with only 20 seconds to go before the checkered flag falls, and it looks as though Nave Talor might just about have done enough here, and Simon Plate is going to miss out potentially on making it through automatically to the main championship race, but he's not going to give up. You can see just how close he is to the tail end of the Solaris Motorsport Chevy. Down the straight they start to accelerate. Clock has now ticked over 10 minutes. Tobias Dauenhauer, who leads, is sort of halfway around the lap, and there is a problem ahead. And now that was one of the Bleaky Molen cars, wasn't it, that had the problem? Your own Bleaky Molen, I think, now has maybe had a problem, but the checkered flag has come out, and as Tobias Dauenhauer has gone over the start-finish line, he will be the winner of heat number 2. Who is going to be the last of these cars to make it through? Well, Nave Talor and Simon Palat will now make it through, because it was a spin for your own Bleaky Molen on the final lap, but he does, by the skin of his teeth, finish in 10th position. Despite the spin, he will automatically qualify through to the main championship race, but the car he got tangled up with, which was Chris Rickards, the Brax Racing Chevy, is unfortunately now going to start towards the front at least, but he'll have to work his way through the last chance qualification race if he wants to try and get into the main race, which carries the championship points. And remember, it's 40 points for a win in the main championship race tonight, 35 for second, 34 for third, and descending by 1 point thereafter. There is 3 times former champion Anna Villarino over the start finish line. He is going to finish down in 16th position with work to do. And Scott Jeff's rather battered-looking car finishes in 17th place. We'll have a chat to our drivers, at least our race winner. Tobias Dauenhauer will join us in live commentary. But confirmation of the results then of Heat 2. Top 10 automatically go through to the championship race. Tobias Dauenhauer wins for Hendricks Motorsport. Andre Castro in second place. Eric Filgares, Bavo Fallon, Mikel Bradegam, and David De Lara complete the top 6. Vladimir Tjoitsis is automatically through in 7th place, as is Nave Talor in 8th, Simon Palate in 9th, and Jerome Bleaky Molen, despite a spin on the final lap, just is able to bring the car home in 10th position. Chris Ricard, Gasper Denovsek, Gustav Berggren, and all thereafter are going to have to try and fight it out in the last chance race. So Heat 3 will be coming up very, very shortly. We should get 22-year-old Tobias Dauenhauer joining us in the commentary box very, very shortly. He will be very, very pleased with that. That is his first win in the EuroNASCAR Esports Series. He is looking to try and move forward week on week on week. He's had a 13th at Brands Hatch in the main championship race and a second at Watkins Glen last time out. What might he be able to do in what will be the final race of the night? But Heat 3 coming up, then the last chance race, and then only then do we get to the longer, all the rest of the races are 10 minutes, but the longer race, the main championship race, is going to be held over 30 minutes. So Tobias Dauenhauer is not joining us just as yet, so he can come through whenever he's ready, Tobias, and then we'll grab a quick word with him. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick him up and bring him through. So joining us in live commentary is the winner of heat number 2, Tobias Dauenhauer. Tobias, congratulations, that's your first win in the EuroNASCAR Esports Series. Well done.
Yeah, thank you. It was a good heat for me. I think I did the best I can, and it's great.
How much easier is it when they're squabbling behind and it allows you just to build that gap?
Yeah, it's a lot easier. The whole heat I had a lot of pressure from Andre, but I could handle it, and I think position 1 is the best I could do in this heat.
we've seen you finish just outside of the top 10 in both of the main championship races that we've had so far at Brands Hatch and Watkins Glen. It would be good to see you inside that top 10, wouldn't it? Maybe a top 6?
Yeah, I tried to. The last races I had a lot of problems with my old equipment. My steering wheel was damaged, and now I have new equipment and I gained a lot more speed, so I'm happy about that, and I hope I can reach a good result in the race.
Has that taken any adjusting to your driving style with the new equipment, the new steering wheel that you've got, or pedal box, or whatever you're working with?
Yeah, of course, it's a big advantage for me because my old steering wheel was damaged, like I said, and I had a lot of problems with this. So yeah, it's now really much better.
Well done on the win. Congratulations. Hopefully we'll get to chat to you at the end of the evening at the main championship race. Good luck in that one.
Thank you.
So there we go, Tobias Dauenhauer. We'll move on to heat number 3, where we see on the front row of the grid, Alessandro Brigatti lines up on the front row of the grid. So he had a very good qualifying session, Alessandro Brigatti. He'll hoping that he can turn the corner a little bit in terms of his performances here. Alongside him is car number 210, Guillaume de Flandre, who won the main championship race at Brands Hatch. So he picked up maximum points at that one, but had a pretty awful weekend last weekend, where he finished in penultimate position in the main race. He got tangled up in that big accident. The second row of the grid sees number 50, Loris Hazemans, who amazingly hasn't had a win so far in the E-Series so far this season. He is, of course, the reigning EuroNASCAR Pro champion and lies third in the esports standings coming into this one. He's got Ben Kriener, the young Scotsman, alongside. Row 3 of the grid is Justin Kuntz and Alex Sedgwick. Alex Sedgwick again got tangled up in the accident last week. Justin Kuntz has had a win, but that's come in one of the last chance races. And then the next row of the grid is Giorgio Maggi alongside Andreas Jochumsen, with Brian Kruls and Alain Muscaron lining up on the 5th row of the grid. So nice to see back in the championship, his first time out in the Esports Series with us, racing the Circuit Zandvoort car, and that is Bert Longines on the grid, Andre.
Yeah, it's nice to have Bert back on the grid. He's a great guy. When you talk to him on the racetrack and just feel the passion he has for motorsport, it's just perfect. You know, this is a guy I really love. But I think we are going to start the race. So, Mark.
We are about to start the final heat. Remember, top 10 go through again. Alessandro Brigatti is looking to try and get the jump here on Guillaume de Flandre. The lights go out. Great start from Alessandro Brigatti. And I think Loris Hazemans is alongside. There's a little bit of rubbing further back as Bert Longines looks to try and carve his way through the order. Then there's contact heading up towards Tarzan. A couple of cars bounce off each other. I think one of them might have been Alain Muscaron, but out front it is Alessandro Brigatti that leads. Ben Kriener runs wide coming out of Tarzan, so that drops him down through the order. He's outside of the top 6 now, down into 8th position, but Brigatti leads. Loris Hazemans is in 2nd place, and Alex Sedgwick, what a start from him. He is up now into 3rd position. Andreas Jochumsen is in 4th, but there's more contact further back by the look of things, and yeah, my computer's struggling to keep up with the graphic requirements there of what was going on at the exit of some of the tighter corners there. Brigatti though out front and leading the race. Loris Hazemans in 2nd place, Alex Sedgwick in 3rd place, Andreas Jochumsen in 4th. We ride on board with the reigning EuroNASCAR Pro champion from last year, Loris Hazemans. Hendricks Ford going well. You can see the steering input being put in as the car started to oversteer on the turn in. We'll go back to a replay of some of the incidents. Igor Romanov got tangled up, and yeah, he's then as a result of that caused a few other cars to bounce off each other, unfortunately. But Hazemans is now looking to see whether he can pull away from Alex Sedgwick and try and mount a challenge to Alessandro Brigatti. The top 4 have broken away, haven't they, Andre? Brigatti, Hazemans, Sedgwick and Andreas Jochumsen have got the gap back to the 5th place car, Justin Kuntz.
Yes, a very interesting start because Guillaume de Flandre, the Brands Hatch race winner, lost a lot of positions during the start. He had a little bit of trouble. I think there was made a little bit of contact with his car, and that's why he was shuffled back in the order. So now we have Brigatti ahead of Hazemans, Sedgwick, Jochumsen and Justin Kuntz. And then we have Giorgio Maggi, the Swiss guy, who's also very fast. He's practicing a lot in the virtual world right now. And I think he's also showing his cockpit view on Twitch, for example, and stuff like that. So one of those guys he's really engaged in this whole project and trying to show people what he's doing to practice and getting faster in the virtual world. So very nice to follow him and his journey in this very special motorsports category.
Yeah, he just missed out on the EuroNASCAR 2 championship last year as well, which ultimately went the way of Lasse Sorensen. Here is Giorgio Maggi looking to try and close in onto the coattails of Justin Kuntz, who lies just ahead of him. There's a great battle going on also for 9th and 10th we were looking at a few moments ago, which is Ben Kriener fighting away with the 46 of Yevgeny Sokolovsky, the former motorcycle racer and team owner as well. He is looking to try and at least automatically qualify, and he is in that position at the moment. Here is Henry Tumala at the wheel of the number 23 car, running down in 12th position. Henry Tumala looking to try and put under pressure Eliseo Bacci, lies ahead of him. Eliseo Bacci is in the leading Toyota that we've got in the field at the moment, down in 11th position. So it's a Chevy that leads. Ford's in 2nd and 3rd place. Chevy's in 4th and 5th, back to Ford's then in 6th, 7th and 8th, another couple of Chevys, and then that Toyota of Eliseo Bacci as we look towards Roy Hendricks, who is another driver again. Roy Hendricks, I've been particularly impressed with Roy, the team manager of Hendricks Motorsport, but is no slouch at all when it comes to esports. He's got the far more experienced Ben Kriener in terms of esports, looking to try and squeeze his way up the inside, but Roy Hendricks has got that one covered up, and there's no way for the 17-year-old Scotsman to try and steal the place, not at least at the moment. Accelerate up towards the next little complex, and then from there it's hard onto the brakes and in towards the left-hander again. A little tap on the rear end of Roy Hendricks from Ben Kriener is going to allow the Scotsman to put the Chevy ahead of the Ford, and now Ben Kriener will be looking to try and make a challenge on the next of the cars just up the road, which is Luigi Ferrara at the wheel of the 42 racing car. Here's a look, there you go, look, little tap right on the back end of Roy Hendricks' car, and a bit like, absolutely, the dynamics of iRacing are so stunning. That is exactly what would happen in real life, Andre. Little tap on the back, unsettles the car, pushes Roy wide, he misses the apex, and Ben Kriener squeezes through.
Yeah, he didn't wreck you, didn't slam into you. He robbed you, and Robinson is racing. I think that's a quote from the Days of Thunder. It was a nice bump and run by Ben Kriener on Roy Hendricks. And Roy Hendricks, he knows exactly what's going on right now. Mark, you have this sport in the UK, very big sport, like Stocker Formula 2, Stocker Formula 1, those short track oval stuff. And Roy Hendricks has a lot of real life experience in those classes, so he knows exactly what it is to get bumped and bumped another guy. So Roy Hendricks, the team manager, yes, but also plenty of real-life racing experience. I think he started as a teenager, going through the classes, raced at the Oval at Venray, did some GT races and stuff like that, so he knows exactly how to drive a racing car. So I'm not surprised that he's so fast here in the virtual world too.
We saw problems there for Henry Tuamala, who got tangled up in a shunt with the number 46 of Yevgeny Sokolovsky, and now we have got a battle for the lead of the race, because Loris Hazemans has worked really hard to close the gap down on Alessandro Brigatti, and now the fight is on for the lead of the race. If they hold each other up though, there's still over 4 minutes to go. Don't rule out the fact that the car in 3rd place, Alex Sedgwick, might begin to close up as well. There's a rather battered looking Brax racing car of Brian Kruls. He is fighting away with number 299, which is Alain Mousqueron. Both of those showing the scars of problems earlier on. Mousqueron, I think, had a spin at the beginning of the race, but yeah, Brian Kruls has got a fair chunk of damage to the front end of his car as he sits there in 13th place. So neither of them at the moment scheduled to automatically qualify. Ben Kriener's progress still continuing as well by the look of things. He has already managed to catch and get past Luigi Ferreira, and let's have a quick look at the move. Ben Kriener quicker out of the previous corner. Ferreira didn't put up a great deal of resistance there, saw him coming, the door was open, let him go through there. Sensible driving, I think, for Luigi Ferreira. 5th place, number 99, Justin Kuntz, remember, has already won a last chance race so far this year, but has not had an overall win in any of the heats or in the final. He's got Giorgio Maggi behind him at the moment, so it's a good race from Justin Kuntz, who is going to want to try and ensure that he hangs on to that position. Justin Kuntz has had a pretty miserable EuroNASCAR Esports start to the season, really. He is lying 27th in the championship points, having had a 35th, which is a penultimate place, and a 16th. Giorgio Maggi is just a single point ahead of him in the championship in 26th position. So neither of them have had the luck really so far. And at the moment, it looks as though they are both going to automatically qualify and get themselves towards the sharpish end of the main championship race if everything continues to go to plan for the next 2.5 minutes, because that's all we've got left on the clock. Remember, top 10 automatically go through. 5th place, Justin Kuntz. Looking back at this car here, Giorgio Maggi, who was the runner-up in the EuroNASCAR 2 championship last year, and we'll be hoping that he can put in a good performance this evening. Number 11, Stinis Longin, is back in the championship here this evening. His father Bert is also out competing in the 411 in this same heat as well. Stinis became a father towards the back end of last year and claimed his first career win in the Elite 1 division, as it was called. He's easily able to get past Alessio Bacci there, who made a mistake at the wheel of the Toyota all over the grass. And now that puts Stinis Longin up into the automatic qualification places. He'll be pleased with that, Andre, because he didn't really have to do a lot, did he? Alessio Bacci made it very easy for him.
Yes, right. Now he's in the perfect spot to advance to the main race, but I have to make a little joke right now. Mark, did you know that Ben Greener is the youngest driver we had in 2019 with 16 years of age? Because a lot of guys in our chat are asking if we already mentioned it, because they say we are doing it a lot of times. So if you have any games running when we are saying it, here's your Ben Greener was the youngest driver in the 2019 EuroNASCAR season with 16 years of age. You're welcome.
We had a 16-year-old and we had a 70-year-old racing in the same race at some points, didn't we, with Michael Bleekemolen. Looks as though there was a drive-through penalty, unfortunately, for Justin Kuntz. Now that has dropped him from 5th to 13th position. So that means that there is no more automatic qualification for Justin Kuntz. And Alessio Bacci, who made that mistake and let Stinis Longin through and thus dropped from 10th to 11th, is now back in automatic qualification again for the main race. So it just goes to show how it can shuffle round. The battle for the lead is still on. There's only 30 seconds to go. Are we going to see Alessandro Brigatti claim a win, or might Loris Hazemans be able to do so? We've not seen either of them claim a win in the heats so far. Hazemans has finished 4th at Brands Hatch. He was 3rd at Watkins Glen. Alessandro Brigatti for Feed Vict Racing has had one single top 10. That was at Brands Hatch. He finished in 10th position and then was 28th last time out. So doing a good job. Almost a little bump coming out of the corner there for Loris Hazemans in 2nd position, but they are only now a couple of corners away from the checkered flag, and Alessandro Brigatti, as long as he's neat and tidy, has probably just about done enough in this one. And Alex Sedgwick in 3rd has really caught them towards the closing stages of this one. On the charge to the line, though, who is going to get it? It is just going to be Alessandro Brigatti comes through to claim the win in the 3rd and final heat. Loris Hazemans right up his bumper, though, as they came over the start-finish line. And Alex Sedgwick in 3rd position. Giorgio Maggi already celebrating in 5th place on the way to the line. Andreas Jochemsen finishing ahead of him, though, in 4th place. And Ben Greener, it's sort of a difficult start to the race for him, but he does come through and will finish in 6th position. So again, that is automatic qualification for Ben Greener at the wheel of the number 33 Mishu Motors supported Chevrolet. Alessio Bacci is the last of the automatic qualifiers. He brings the Toyota home as the first Toyota home and will finish in 10th place. But anybody that crosses the start-finish line after him is going to have to fight it out in what is the last chance qualification race. So we are awaiting drivers to come and join us in live commentary. And
that's maybe a good situation where I can give you another additional information I got a few seconds ago. Of course, all of you guys missed Alan Day on this particular event, and he got stuck in traffic and didn't make it home right in time. That's why Alan Day missed out this event here at Circuit Park Zandvoort. Just an explanation why we have the 2-time NASCAR Euro Series champion not on the grid today.
Thanks for that. I realised he was missing, but I wasn't sure of the reason, so I left it alone and thought we'll find out if we need to. So well done. Alessandro Brigatti then claims the win. Loris Hazemans is 2nd, Alex Sedgwick 3rd, Andreas Jochemsen, Giorgio Maggi and Ben Greener complete the top 6. Luigi Ferreira, Roy Hendricks, Stinis Longin and Alessio Bacci are the drivers that finish in the top 10, so therefore they make it through to the main race. And from Alain Muscaron downwards, everybody else has got it all to do again. Alessandro Brigatti, I think it is, has joined us in live commentary. Alessandro, complimenti, congratulations, your first win in the Esports Series.
Yeah, it's been very hard to win this heat, but yeah, I do.
Loris Hazemans was really close to you as you went towards the checkered flag.
Yeah, he managed very well the tire, and in the last lap he is quicker than me. But for the final, I hope to stay more calm the first laps and go to the end with tire in a good condition.
You finished in 10th place at Brands Hatch, your best result of the year. You will certainly want to try and improve on that this evening.
Yes, because at Watkins I was pretty fast, but in the big one, the start, my race finished in that crash. So I want a revenge here in Zandvoort.
Well, good luck. Good luck. Thanks for joining us in commentary. Well done on the heat win.
Thank you.
So there we go. Alessandro Brigatti. We'll let him go because he's only got 10 minutes to sort of, get the nerves back under where he needs them to be, and maybe grab a quick bit of water and relax before we get the last chance race out of the way and move on to the main championship race. Now, this last chance race is all of the drivers that finished outside of the top 10 in their respective heats. It's a very, very full grid of cars. It is only the top 6 that now go through, and the top 6 in this race will start in grid positions 31 through to 36 for the main championship race. Now, Andre, of all of the races, the last chance race is usually the one that's rather interesting, I'm going to put it.
Very nice wording. Yeah, very nice wording. Interesting is very nice. I think chaotic is the right one. But look at the front. We have Gabriela Gilkova in pole position, a driver who has not competed in the EuroNASCAR Esports Series before. So let's see how she can do. She's representing the Autodrome Rust. So let's see if she can make it a flag-to-flag win. Then we have Chris Richard, a very experienced driver, former WTCR driver. Then Alain Moscaron, the French guy, the reigning Club Challenge champion for DF1 Racing. So we have a lot of experienced guys there, and also some of those who are not so familiar with sim racing. And it's only 6 spots, so this race is always on fire.
Yeah, and there's some quick drivers down towards the back as well that have got work to do. Scott Jeffs down in 17th place. Watch out for him. You could argue that Sebastian Bleekie-Molen should be a little bit higher up. We've also got Justin Kuntz down in 21st position. So watch out for him. And I'm not quite sure what happened in his heat. Advik Dioda, who was a front runner in EuroNASCAR 2 last year, but hasn't actually claimed an overall win in his NASCAR career. He's got a bit of work to do from way down in 23rd position. So there's lots of guys further down through the order that are going to want to pick their way through. Now, if there is an incident, that will help them as long as they can scrabble their way around it. They might pick a few more up, but let's hope that it goes clean, and let's hope that we might see Gabriela Gilkova also getting inside the top 6 and seeing that Autodrome Most car get through. But we've got 10 minutes of racing coming up to try and sort out who are the top 6, who are going to go through. Guillaume de Flandre is another one, and Fred Gabillon down in 8th and 9th place. They've got a bit of work to do to try and automatically get through and qualify for the main championship race, which will not be 10 minutes, it will be 30 minutes. The race after this that is coming up. The 2 Bleekie-Molen cars, nose to tail as well, on that's something like the 7th or 8th rows of the grid, those 2 cars. So the safety car is about to pull off. We're about to get things underway with Chris Ricard sitting there alongside the car of the pole position city, which is Gabriela Gilkova. And as they head up towards the start-finish line, final 10-minute race coming underway before we then head to our 30-minute main championship race. That's the one that carries the points. This is just to qualify to get through to the championship race. Red lights on, red lights go out, and it's a good start from Gabriela Gilkova, who gets the jump on the rest of the cars. All neat and tidy so far, but Gilkova is now coming under attack. All right, as soon as I say it's neat and tidy, then we get the big incident, and it looks as though, again, Ander Villarino has got caught up in that. Sebastian Bleekie-Molen has got caught up. Chris Lehman is caught up, as is Max Palumbo caught up as well. But it is Gabriela Gilkova that leads the race. Alain Muscaron is sitting there in 2nd place, but under pressure from Chris Ricard, who's there in 3rd place. And Francisco Garisto is looking to try and hang on to 4th place as things stand. He has got right behind him Gasper Donovsek as we go on board with Gasper Donovsek, looking at the Ford that lies ahead. up towards the braking area. There's a sideways Alain Mouscaron directly ahead. I think Alain Mouscaron has got caught up in an incident as well there, and also now getting turned around. Yeah, that is Carl shuffling all the way down through the order. Car number 146, Kasper Danovsik, also gets caught out. We've also got Garisto getting turned around, and all of that has meant that we've had a big shuffle in the order, and Fred Gabion all of a sudden at the wheel of his Toyota, the number 3 car, is up into something like 5th position. So a bit of shuffling in the order there as a result of, well, a large incident again, for which my computer really struggles when we get some of the larger incidents. The graphics are fantastic, but it's not been built for a gaming PC. It's been built to do other things, and that's when it struggles, unfortunately. And we've got a big gap, and we have 4-second leads now for Gabriela Jilkova. And who's up into second place, Andre? Guillaume de Flandre, the race winner from Brands Hatch.
Yeah, for him, the race could not get any better. I think those 2 major accidents we saw really shuffled up the order, but the Autodrome Most is again the track, the real NASCAR Euro Series track, celebrating at home in the Czech Republic, because last week it was Michal Smidl, now we have Gabriela Jilkova doing a great job. I think Autodrome Most is very well represented here in the EuroNASCAR Esports Series. And then we have, what you said, Guillaume de Flandre, the Brands Hatch winner. Then Henry Tourmala, also very nice to see him in the top 3. Alain Mouscaron is on 4th place on my screen. Then Gabion, Justin Kuntz.
Yeah, Gabion's had an incident though, and he's now carrying a whole chunk of damage. More cars go off. Scott Jeffs is off in the barriers as well. So just as Gabion had worked his way up through the order, all of a sudden he tumbles back down through the order. It's the same for Justin Kuntz, I think, who got caught out there. And it's on the replays that we might be able to pick up what happened. There's a replay of the start again, with cars sort of braking drivers left and braking drivers right, and half a dozen of them involved. Here is getting spun around the 146. That is Kasper Danovsik, who got took out and then caused another chain reaction, which I think Justin Kuntz was involved in as well. And that's why now the 99 for DF1 is carrying some damage, and you can see the damage to the front of the number 3 as well, which is Fred Gabion's car. All of this has rather helped Brian Kruls, who, if memory serves me correctly, he was one of those that was facing backwards on turn number 1, heading up towards Tarzan, got caught out in the start line incident, and is now back up into 7th position. What a recovery drive from him. Bert Longines is also now up into 9th position, having picked off Fred Gabion, who I think, Andre, is going to be destined for the pits, isn't he? He just can't carry that amount of damage and carry the speed as well.
Yeah, the realistic model in iRacing is very realistic, the damage model. If you hit the car, the aerodynamics are gone, you can break the steering, you can have problems with the tires, with the engine, with the heat of the engine and stuff like that, so you have to be very careful when you have a damaged car. So let's see what the guys with those cars without any front bumpers left can do in this race, but everybody's very aggressive, and that's what we were expecting in this last chance qualifier heat, because only the top 6 get through to the main race, and we have 25 drivers who want to get one of those spots. And yeah, this causes a lot of chaos, and it's the same it was the same at Daytona, at Brands Hatch, at Watkins Glen, and so on. So yeah, we were a little bit expecting that.
Yeah, we were, and it is going to mean that we are going to have a shuffling on now. Have we got a battle for the lead on? Yes, we have, and I think Guillaume de Flandre is going to try around the outside to take the lead of the race away here from Gabriela Jilkova, but Jilkova's having none of it at the wheel of the Autodrome Most car show car. De Flandre gets a better run coming out of the next corner, though, and has the inside line as they head up towards the right-hander. And Guillaume de Flandre now goes for the lead of the race, and I think he's going to be able to hang on to it there. So that is a change for the lead. Guillaume de Flandre now picks up the lead of the race. Gabriela Jilkova now down into 2nd position, but that is still automatic qualification, albeit for the last 3 rows of the grid for the main championship race. We are now halfway through this last chance race. Jilkova down into 2nd place. Henry Tourmala up into 3rd. He started in the mid-teens. Sydney Alain Mouscaron is 4th. Advait Theodor is 5th. And 6th at the moment, the last of those that would automatically qualify, is Yevgeny Sokolovsky, the German driver, the 41-year-old. Brian Kruls, though, is looking to try and take that place away from him. He's got the inside line heading up in towards Tarzan, and it does look as though the team member for Brax, who usually is involved with the number 91 car, his Brax Racing Ford, is through, and is now up into the last automatic qualification spot. And what a drive that has been from him, from getting caught out in that start line incident, tumbling all the way to the very back of the grid, with then the next lot of incidents he's been able to pick his way through, and he's into automatic qualification. Fantastic job, and that's what he's done all year, really. He finished 6th overall at Brands Hatch. Andre, he's a quick guy.
Yes, he's very good at sim racing, but I think Yevgen Sokolowski still has a chance to get into the top 6, because I think there was a penalty showing for Alain Moscaron, so the 4th place guy may shuffle back when he has to serve this penalty. I'm very sure that there was such a penalty, so we have to wait a little bit and see if the 299 will head to the pits. So maybe Yevgen Sokolowski will advance to the main race due to this penalty that Alain Moscaron was given.
Yeah, we'll have to see on the screen that I look at. I don't see the penalties coming up, but I've got 3 screens working, and the screen they're on is a bit out of my eye line, so I need to adjust that to pick up on them. Guillaume de Fronde leads the race. We're looking at Justin Kuntz at the moment, who is just missing out on automatic qualification, the number 99 car. Now, the lap time that he set last time through was 1:43.1. That was 0.2 of a second quicker than Brian Kruls was doing. So it may well be that he is able to gain the position. And you're right, yeah, Alain Moscaron does indeed come into the pit lane. You're absolutely right, Andre, about that penalty. So Moscaron heads down pit lane. He's going to come out, mid-teens, I would have thought, by the time he's served his drive-through penalty. So that's going to put him out of automatic qualification. But it does now move back into the automatic qualification spots, as you suggested. You have Jenny Sokolovsky for Marco Steep Motorsport. Bouncing over the curbs goes the number 48 car there of Santu Berksadoria, the Scandinavian V8 Thundercar racer, who has also been involved in the recruitment programme. Great to see more and more Scandinavians getting on board with the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series, and so many of them also in the EuroNASCAR Esports Series. As for Moscaron, I said he'd come back out mid-teens. Well, he came back out in 14th position, Alain Moscaron, and he's got Ricardo Alita directly ahead of him, looking to try and apply the pressure to the car that sits there in 13th place, having served a drive-through penalty at the wheel of that 299 DF1 Racing Chevy. Now, as for lap times, what's happening in terms of drivers catching each other? Justin Kuntz has eased his pace a little bit now that he knows in the automatic qualification spot, so he's no longer catching Brian Kruls to the degree that he was. Sebastian Bleekie-Molen at the wheel of the number 69 Team Bleekie-Molen car, carrying a chunk of damage, all the front and the rear bodywork missing off that one. He's now being passed by Scott Jeffs, who's looking to try and carve his way back up through the order at the wheel of the number 90 Brax Racing Machine, but they are outside of the top 6 currently, in 9th and 10th positions respectively. Let's have a quick replay. Here's Francesco Garisto, nice and neat and tidy on the way into the corner, but too much power on the way out, and that's put Garisto into the wall, unfortunately, right towards the tail end of the race, and will cost him quite dear. 3rd place for another Finnish driver, Henry Tumala, the wheel of the number 23 car. Tumala was the Challenger champion last year in the 2019 season. The Challenger category is for amateur drivers that head into the NASCAR, or EuroNASCAR Pro division, and he was the winner of that, the champion of it overall. So a quick driver, but he is not really going to be able to put any pressure in the closing stages of this one. And why would you? Because he's comfortably in automatic qualification, sitting there in 3rd place. And these 2 cars now that we look at are the 2 that are fighting for the last qualification place. And Yevgeny Sokolovsky makes a mistake there, and that's going to allow through and past Stefano Gustavaye. So the Cal Racing Machine goes through and ahead of the Marco Steep Motorsport car, and that now puts Gustavaye up into the final automatic qualification place. So that would mean that he would line up at the very back of the main championship race that's coming up in just a few moments' time. As for our race leader, the Flandre, well, he is just about to take the checkered flag at this stage. This guy here, Bert Longy, number 411, has had a great charge from the tail end of the field, applying pressure to Scott Jeffs for 8th position. Gives him a bit of a nudge going towards the chicane there. And I don't think he's going to be able to gain the place by the look of things. Top 3 have already taken the checkered flag. Guillaume de Flandre will claim the win. and will line up 31st in reality for the main championship race coming up in a few moments. Gabriela Gilkova second. Henry Tuamala finishes in third place. Bran Kruls in fourth place. Justin Kuntz in fifth. And the final qualifying car that will head on to the main race, but at the very back of the grid is going to be that car there. Car number 388, Stefano Gustavaye, is the last of those that qualifies. So anybody else outside of the top six, they are done for the night, unfortunately. They have not quite made it through, and that must be rather gutting, I would imagine, for Yevgeny Sokolovsky, who looked as though he was just going to hang on to that final qualification place, but it wasn't to be. And still the incident's happening as they come over the start-finish line. But Guillaume de Flandre claims a last chance qualification race. So the top 10 in each one of the heats have automatically gone through. So the top 15 rows of the grid already decided. This last chance race is just to sort out who's going to line up on the final 3 rows of the grid. And it is going to be Guillaume de Flandre that will line up on the inside of the 16th row of the grid. The rest of the cars just making it back around and in towards the pit lane area, including Igor Romanov, who finished in 17th position in the end. So Igor again will take the checkered flag and I think be the last of the cars to take the checkered flag. Francesco Garisto finishes in 18th place. He had an interesting race, did Francesco Garisto. So we should be able to get confirmation of the results then before we then start to head towards our final. And we'll see. There we go. Confirmation of the results then. Only the top 6 go through to form the final 3 rows of the grid for the main championship race, which will be held over 30 minutes, remember. Guillaume de Flandre claims the win. Gabriela Gilkova in second place and Henry Tuamala in third. Brian Kruls, Stefano Gustavaye and Yevgeny Sokolovsky will be the next of the cars that will make it through to the main race. But 7th place onwards, they are out for the evening. Scott Jeffs finishes in 7th place. Bert Longines finishes in 8th position. 9th place goes the way of Santu Vortsadoria, and then Alan Muscaron in 10th place. Ricardo Alita, Sebastian Bliski-Molen, Gasper Dinovsek, Michael Stolman, Justin Kuntz, Max Lancer, Igor Romanov, and Francesco Garisto bring us all the way down into 18th position. Adric Dioda and Ander Villarino wrap up the top 20. You can see the rest of the finishers from there on in. So we will, I'm sure, probably not get our last chance winner, because already, of course, we are on the rolling lap for the feature race. Now, this is where it gets interesting. This is what the championship points are about, Andre, and uniquely in terms of the esports series that are out there at the moment, our champion at the end of the EuroNASCAR Esports Series will also claim 40 points for the team championship race, the real championship, as and when we get it going.
Yes, right. And I think we have to explain there's something special about the team championship. In European race, you think about a team like Hendrix Motorsports has 3 cars and they all collect points for the team, but that's not the case in NASCAR racing. In NASCAR racing, a team is a car, and the car is shared by 2 drivers, the EuroNASCAR Pro and the EuroNASCAR 2 drivers. So in the end, Tobias Dauenhauer in the EuroNASCAR 2 and Loris Hesemans in the EuroNASCAR Pro, they share the 50 car, and they collect points for their own team, for the 50 Hendrix Motorsports car. So the champion will get 40 points for his car, and that can be a really big game changer. It's about, when we have 7 events in 2000, about 4% impact this virtual championship, but 40 points that can make the big difference at the end of the season.
Yeah, it's equivalent to a race win, isn't it? Yeah, EuroNASCAR.com, as we heard from Jerome Galpin, maybe late this month, early part of next month, the revised full calendar will be announced as to how many rounds we will be able to squeeze in with the later start to the season. But we thank all of our partners around the world and all of the circuits that we're involved with for working with us to not only put this esports series together, but also to be as flexible as they can be in the current climate to try and schedule all of the races. So Jeffrey Rufen lines up on pole position. Tobias Dauenhauer alongside Jeffrey Rufen, the most successful driver we've had in EuroNASCAR Esports Series so far in terms of the heat races, but he's not had an overall win, and neither has Tobias Dauenhauer in second place. Alessandro Brigatti and Yuli Stelso line up on the second row of the grid. Neither of those have had a win so far this year. Brigatti won his heat, of course, but hasn't claimed an overall win in the main race. Andre Castro has, though. He sits down there in 5th position on the grid, row number 3, alongside Loris Hesemans, and the championship leader, Lassie Sorensen, is on row number 4 with Eric Filgueres. Alex Sedgwick, the number 78 Brax Racing machine, is on row number 5 alongside Alex Fontana, and then it is Andreas Jukumsu, Bavo Fallon that line up on row number 6. Row number 7 is where we see Michael Brotium alongside Vittorio Garelli, Malin Kramers, Ben Kriener on row number 8, Giorgio Maggi and Vladimir Tjoitzis on row number 9, and the 10th row, just to give you that, is Davide Dallara and Lorenzo Marcucci. So that's the way the top 10 rows line up. 30-minute race. They're going to have to not overdrive the cars in the early stages. It's a difficult circuit to overtake. It's also hard on the tyres as well. If you put too much load into the tyres, the very clever dynamics of iRacing do mean that you might just run out of tyres by the end of the 30 minutes, so there might be a little bit of tyre management to come into this one as well. Hopefully we'll have a cleaner start than we had at Watkins Glen, where we had the big one at the exit of turn number 1 on the run up towards turn number 2. So let's hope that we get everybody safely around Tarzan and at least part the way around the first lap. So up towards what is Kumo, then on towards Ari Lyondike, which is the final corner here at Zandvoort on the 2.676 or 4.307 kilometre circuit. Jeffrey Ruffin looking for his first esports win of the season in the EuroNASCAR Esports Series, in conjunction with iRacing, with support from i.cin.com and SimRacingLeague.it. Safety car will pull off, and we're about to get this 30-minute race underway. Good start from Jeffrey Ruffin. It looks as though there's been a good start also from Ulysse Delceau, who was looking to try and stay as close to the pit wall as he could. Tobias Steinhauer's going to go all the way around the outside at Tarzan, though, to hang on to second place. Jeffrey Ruffin leads Tobias Steinhauer in second position. It is Ulysse Delceau in what is not going to be third place. He's down into fourth because Alessandro Brigatti has hung on to third place. The two very similar looking cars, both of them red with black and white flashes to them, but it's Brigatti in third, Delceau in fourth, Andre Castro in fifth place, and Lassie Sorensen in sixth. And for the moment, everybody is clean as they head up towards Rob Slottermacher, and then up towards, over the brow of the hill, and up towards Sturaflack, sorry. So Jeffrey Ruffin leading the race. You can see his car bouncing over the curves. We go on board with the fourth place car, the former EuroNASCAR 2 champion, Ulysse Delceau, and look at what's going on behind. Lassie Sorensen and Andre Castro almost got themselves together there, heading round through the corner. It was all rather tight, and that has cost Andre Castro now a couple of places, because Justin Kuntz has squeezed his way through, and Loris Hazemans has gone through as well. So largely clean first 3/4 of the lap. Andre Castro tried a move there, Andre, didn't quite work, and it's cost him a couple of places.
Yeah, but I'm a little bit surprised that we did not have any big one on this track, because I think it's very, very difficult to control those heavy and powerful cars on a track like the Circuit Park Zandvoort. So props to all the drivers, very good job in the first lap, and I think we're now ahead of a very nice race. We see Jeffrey Ruffin is very, very fast in first position. Then we have Tobias Downhauer. He is following Jeffrey Ruffin, will not let him get away. And then we have a big pack of drivers from different teams fighting for the position. So yeah, it was a clean start. Very fortunate that we have something like this here at Zandvoort, a very narrow track. And now I'm really looking forward to this race, because I cannot find a guy who I would put my money on.
Yeah, it's going to be so close. I think it's going to be the case all season, but we're only 2 minutes into what is a 30-minute race, so there's loads of racing still to come in this third round of the championship. Remember, Lassie Sorensen leads the championship on 71 points coming into this one. He is the car that we ride on board with, looking at the coattails of the RDV competition Chevy that lies ahead in the hands of Frenchman Ulysse Delceau. Ulysse Delceau, just 22 years of age still, and looking to try and attack and defend at the same time. He ideally wants to get past Alessandro Brigatti, but Brigatti will not exactly make it easy. Brigatti's car with the all-red bonnet, it's red with black outer edges, to Ulysse Delceau that sits behind in fourth place, and he is under pressure from Lassie Sorensen at the wheel of the DF1 Racing Chevy, the light green one with its white flashes that sits behind. Third place, Alessandro Brigatti, looking back at Ulysse Delceau. Through the right-hander, picking up the throttle again on the exit of the corner. You can see the tail end wag as Alessandro Brigatti just gets on the throttle maybe a split second too early, and has to counter it with a little bit of opposite lock to counter the oversteer. Lasse Sorensen looking to try and slipstream Ulysse Delso. Ulysse Delso will hug that inside line up towards Tarzan, and Sorensen now is going to try around the outside. The outside at Tarzan will give him the inside for Gerlach, which is where they're heading up to now, the left-hand kink. And has he made it stick? Yes, he has. Job done as far as Lasse Sorensen is concerned. The championship leader moves up into 4th position and will now turn his attentions to attacking heat winner Alessandro Brigatti that lies ahead. Flat out on the throttle as they head through Rob Slottermacher and then start to climb up the hill over the crest and in towards Sureflac, where the circuit starts to drop away all the way round through the corner. Andre Castro, having made his mistake, has now brought his DF1 Racing Chevy back inside the top 6. He is now also looking to try and attack Ulysse Delso. He's got a great view of the battle that lies ahead, with really only Jeffrey Ruffin having a little bit of a gap and some breathing space. 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and this car here in 6th place, which we ride on board with, all absolutely together. And even behind Andre Castro, Alex Sedgwick is only 3/4 of a second adrift as he sits there in 7th position. Loris Hazemans is in 8th place. Eric Filgueras is in 9th. And Bavo Follon completes the top 10 currently. Remember, 40 points for the race winner from this race. 35 for second, descending by 1 point thereafter. Replay of Vladimir Tjoitsis. What happened to the Cypriot? Onto the brakes, turning in towards the corner. Snatches a brake. Gets on the throttle way too early coming out of the corner. Rotates him through 180 degrees. And that will drop Tjoitsis a long way down through the order. What a fight that we've got going on now for the first time, Andre. It looks as though Tobias Bauernhauer is just starting to get away from Alessandro Brigatti in 3rd place, because he's got this car, Lasse Sorensen, right behind him.
Yeah, I think he's taken advantage of this battle behind him for 3rd place. And I also think that Jeffrey Ruffin is gaining a little bit of space to the 2nd place. I think the gap is increasing. So yeah, I think Jeffrey Ruffin has a good chance here to win his home race in the virtual Circuit Park Zandvoort. But Tobias Bauernhauer, yeah, I think he's able. Oh, I think we had a big crash there.
We did, yeah. Lasse Sorensen got together, unfortunately, with Alessandro Brigatti. Brigatti bounced off the barriers on one side of the circuit. Sorensen bounced off briefly onto the grass and touched the barriers on the other, but largely got away with an accident. It might have just put a little bit of damage on the car. So that means Sorensen is now 5th and Brigatti is in 7th place. Let's have a look. Yeah, curb from Sorensen pushes him inadvertently in towards Brigatti, and then Sorensen, because he went through the gravel on the right-hand bend, he couldn't then make the left-hand bend with the dirty tyres, and that allowed him to brush the barrier on the opposite side. So Sorensen drops from what was 3rd stroke 4th place down to 5th, and Brigatti drops from 3rd stroke 4th down to 7th, because they were both side by side at the time it happened. That has helped Andre Castro, who has now picked them both off and is now mounting a challenge for another podium position. Andre Castro has really been a star, hasn't he, in the EuroNASCAR Esports season. He didn't have a great deal of luck last time out at Watkins Glen, his home race, where he finished in 14th place, but he's had the pace in all of the heats so far, in all of the races. He just hasn't had the luck, has he, Andre?
Yes, right, and he won the prologue at Daytona, so
yeah,
he knows what it takes to win a sim race. He's doing a lot of virtual racings right now. I saw him on different oval tracks, on short tracks and stuff like that, so he's practicing a lot to get more experience in the sim racing world, and I think Andre Castro is one of those guys who's going to fight for the championship, for the overall championship in the first EuroNASCAR Esports season that we have in the history of NASCAR Whelen Euro Series.
The Ford of Alex Sedgwick we're concentrating on at the moment, the EVP and Brax-backed machine looking to try and apply the pressure to the reigning EuroNASCAR 2 champion Lasse Sorensen. Lasse Sorensen, though, is going to ignore what's going on in his mirrors and focus on these 2 cars ahead of him. Ulysse Delso at the wheel of the RDV competition Chevy that is running in 3rd place, but under pressure from Andre Castro, and Sorensen will want to catch both of them. Here is the 2nd place car, Tobias Bauernhauer. Now, he has broken away from those behind. He's got about a 2-second gap back to this little battle here in 3rd and 4th place, and Tobias Bauernhauer is 1 3/4 seconds off the race leader. Last time round, he matched Jeffrey Ruffin for pace. It was a 1 minute 41.02 from Jeffrey Ruffin last time. It was a 1 minute 41.09 from Tobias Bauernhauer, so just 7/100ths of a second difference in terms of their lap time. The fastest lap of the race at the moment, I think has actually gone the way of Andre Castro. 1 minute 40.34. I think it's the fastest lap of the race that we've had. That happened a few laps ago from the American as he sits there in 4th position. And in fact, he's just gone over the start-finish line now. And has he gone even quicker? Yeah, that was a 1 minute 40.343 is that fastest lap that he has managed to set. So yeah, that was a couple of laps to go. So that's why it's purple. Fastest lap of the race. Not the lap he's just completed, a couple earlier than that. There's the gaps as well. 2.5 seconds roughly between 1st and 2nd place. And now we look back at the battle for final place inside the top 10. This is Maren Kremers at the wheel of the 105 Chevy, fighting away with the PK Carsport machine of Bavo Fallon. And for the moment, it is just Maren Kremers that lies ahead. So it's just the Dutch driver, the 22-year-old for Feed Victor Racing at his home circuit, hanging on to the place. Back towards the front of the order. Andre Castro now starting to feel the pressure. He's got the green Chevy of Lasse Sorensen sitting right behind him as we go on board with the American, looking across at the virtual driver Andre Castro, and then looking back at the car that's hunting him down, that being Lasse Sorensen. We're almost a third of the way through this race now, and are the lap times dropping off? Yes, they are for most drivers. They are dropping off about maybe a 0.3 to 0.5 of a second slower than they were doing earlier on. Lasse Sorensen still looking to try and hang on to 5th place whilst attacking for 4th if he can, but he'll be conscious of the championship points. Andre, you know Lasse as well as we do. Hugely likeable guy. Gentle giant is Lasse Sorensen. Unbelievably quick, but if you're leading the championship in the early stages and you're in 5th place, do you push it too hard to try and make the point with Andre Castro, or you just see if there's a mistake and then sneak by?
I think it's very hard to tell, because on the one side, you know, consistency is key. So Lasse Sorensen leads the championship without a win. He knows that it's important to collect as many points as possible. On the other side, he's a racer, so when he sees a gap, he's going for it. So it's very hard to tell what his strategy be like. But if Andre Castro leaves the door open, I'm sure that Lasse Sorensen will take any opportunity to overtake him. But I think he will manage the risk a little bit. And you said it, he's a gentle giant. When you would meet him in the night, there's a 2-meter tall guy in front of you. I think you could get scared, but when you talk to him, you know, he's a very nice guy.
He's a lovely, lovely guy. Yeah, but yeah, he's quite imposing at what, 6'3", 6'4". Here we go. There is our 2nd place driver, Tobias Staudenhag. You just see up the road Jeffrey Roof and the race leader turning into the next corner. Now, might not be that many more laps before we potentially start to get a little bit of traffic coming into play here. And if you catch it in the right parts here at Zandvoort, then it's not going to cause you a problem. If you catch it through the twiddly bits, and there are several of those, it is going to cost you time, and that might put you back under pressure for position. The top 3 look fairly settled at the moment. Rufen from Danhauer from Del So. The best of the fights is still for 4th and 5th place. The yellow and white car, the Chevy of Andre Castro. Just behind that car there, Ulysse Del So, who heads over the start-finish line. Further down through the order, though, this is Ben Kriener under pressure from Andreas Jochumsen. And for the moment, it is just about the Scot who is ahead of the Dane. Right behind them as well is car number 479, which is going to be Michael Brottigan. Ben Kriener doing a good job of hanging on to 12th position. A driver who really started out in esports. He's got a lot of esports racing experience, has Ben Kriener. The Lux Simulators back Chevy being run by Mishu Motors. Hanging on to the final place inside the top 12 and starting to feel the pressure from the couple of cars that are queuing up behind. To Andre Castro and Ulysse Del So. Ulysse Del So at the wheel of the number 10 RDV competition Chevy. He's got the DF1 machines sitting directly behind him of teammates Andre Castro and Lasse Sorensen. So Sorensen will be ever more calculated in any attack that he's going to put in there, bearing in mind it is his teammate that sits ahead. Trying to have a quick look at, thought there was a replay coming up there, but didn't quite get the replay that we thought we might. And now Ben Kriener has, by the look of things, lost out here, hasn't he? Yeah, through has gone Andreas Jochumsen, and Creamer is now no longer in 12th place. He's down into 13th place and didn't quite spot where that happened, but either way, place has been gained there by the Scandinavian, and it is the reigning Super GT Denmark and champion, the 23-year-old Andreas Jochumsen, that's taken the place away. So we're fast approaching the halfway point of the race. Third, fourth and fifth still very much together. The red car, Ulysse Delso. The white and yellow machine is Andre Castro. He's got Lasse Sorensen right behind him. We go on board with the reigning EuroNASCAR 2 champion, Lasse Sorensen. Wide line going into, I think that was Hugenholtz. And then the speed starts to build as they go through Hunsrück and then up towards Rob Slottermacher. And then over the crest, then in towards Söderflack, which is the next of the sweeping right-handers. Giorgio Maggi's had a quiet race, the runner-up in EuroNASCAR 2 last year, the Swiss driver for Hendricks Motorsport, running down in 17th position at the moment. Driver who, as Andre suggested, has been putting in the time in the simulator to try and get to grips with the EuroNASCAR Esports Series, and has been thoroughly enjoying the concept of it and giving him some sort of competition whilst we're not able to go racing for real. But say he just hasn't quite so far this season had the luck in any of the races, running down in 26th position in the championship standings, best of the season so far of a 16th, the 34th last time out at Watkins Glen, and say now running well down the order as well. Antonio Ortiz at the wheel of the Fordzilla Circuit Valencia machine, involved in a squabble, but we head back towards third, fourth and fifth place. Now Ulysse Delso has started to pull away again, so it keeps ebbing and flowing, Andre. We get to a point of the race where Ulysse Delso seems to come under pressure from Andre Castro and Lasse Sorensen, and then they sort of squabble a bit more, they hold each other up, and it allows the Frenchman just to pull away again in third.
Yes, you're totally right. I think both DF1 drivers are putting pressures on themselves, so Ulysse Delso is able to get a little bit away ahead of them, but I think the DF1 drivers are a little bit faster than Ulysse Delso on particular parts on the track. On the other parts, it's Ulysse Delso who is a little bit quicker. You see them now getting a little bit closer to the red car again. So yeah, it's a nice battle, but I think we're going to have the fourth different winner in the fourth EuroNASCAR Esports Series race, including the prologue, because Jeffrey Rufen is doing a good job at front, and also Tobias Downhauer, if he can manage somehow to overtake Jeffrey Rufen, he would get his first win, and also Delso or even Lasse Sorensen. So we have a lot of guys in front of the standings right now who have no race in their pockets. So we will see the fourth different winner in the fourth race for sure. I think the only one who can destroy these stats, these numbers, is Andre Castro.
Yeah, you're very true. Looks as though that's another place change there. That is a place gain for Loris Hazemans. He moves up to 7th place, and Alessandro Brigatti continues to fall down through the order. Remember, the Italian won his heat. He started 3rd on the grid, but he's now down into 8th position by the look of things. So that is not what he would want to be doing in this one. Here is on screen now. Now, this is Guillaume de Flandre for RDV competition in 14th position. He's got Brautigam sitting right behind him. Michael Brautigam at the wheel of the 479 car in 15th place. Davide Dallara is not too far away either in 16th position. So no matter where you go through the order, they're like every round that we've had of the EuroNASCAR Esports Series in conjunction with iRacing, with support from i.cin.com and SimRacingLeague.it. We've had some great racing, and all the way down here to the bottom of the top 20, Gordon Barnes with his hands full as well. Remember you saying, I was saying a few moments ago, Ulysse Delso had got away and it kept ebbing and flowing. Well, the gaps disappeared again. All of a sudden, we've got 3 cars fighting for the final podium spot again. Ulysse Delso, Andre Castro and Lasse Sorensen are all equidistantly spread again, all pretty much bumper to bumper through the slower corners, and it's only when they head down the straights that the gaps begin to spread out again. The Frenchman ahead of the American, ahead of the Dane, with the British driver Alex Sedgwick always a present danger in the distance as well. If any of these three slip up or bump into each other. And there are now only 12 minutes of the race to go, and these three squabbling really have helped lead to breakaway. Jeffrey Rufen leads by 3.2 seconds from Tobias Bauernhauer, who's there in second place, and the gap back from him to Delso in third, 3.2 seconds. So it really is a concertina. Then thereafter, Ulysse Delso, I don't think has had as quick a car or is as quick a driver as Andre Castro or Lasse Sorensen, but he's just doing a fantastic job of positioning the car in the right places at the right time and making it almost impossible for those behind to work their way through. Are we going to see, if the race wears on, maybe another bump and run to try and shuffle this order? We've seen a few of them throughout the course of the EuroNASCAR Esports Series, and one of those came from Andre Castro to win the prologue race on the Daytona road course when he did a bump and run on Alan Day to grab the lead of the race with, what, half a lap to go. Down towards the bottom of the top 10. Ninth place, number 70, the Mitsubishi Motors car of Eric Filgueiras is under pressure from the PK Car Sport Chevy of Bavo Fallon. And there, the Ulysse Delso off the circuit by the look of things. That's a change of the order all the way through the gravel. Only saw the tail end of what happened, but we saw the Frenchman's car sliding off through the right-hander into the gravel on the left-hand side. That puts Andre Castro up into third position. Lasse Sorensen up into fourth. Alex Sedgwick is up into fifth. Loris Hazemans moves through into sixth position, and Ulysse Delso eventually scrabbles back out of the gravel, and I think he's going to be in seventh place if he's not careful. It really depends whether Loris Hazemans had enough momentum to get through, and I think in the distance, yes, he has. He's just, I think, done it. And then problems for Andre Castro, who slows all of a sudden heading down the straight. Missed the gear or something happened there, because Andre Castro has now dropped down through the order, and he is going to rejoin. Let's have a quick look now. Did he make contact and made sure he didn't get... Yeah, there was contact with the back of Ulysse Delso. Very light contact, which put Delso off the circuit. And I think Andre Castro probably realised that maybe his best bet was to give the place back. But unfortunately, that meant relinquishing positions all the way down into 8th place, because Alessandro Bugatti also squeezed through as well. So that has really shuffled the order. Jeffrey Rufen leads from Tobias Bauernhauer, but now the championship leader, Lasse Sorensen, is up into third position. Up to fourth comes Alex Sedgwick, who's having a great run, the British driver. Loris Hazemans is fifth. Ulysse Delso was and still is in sixth place. And seventh place now is Andre Castro, who's got himself back ahead of Alessandro Bugatti, Eric Filgueiras and Bavo Fallon, complete the top 10. But we've now got 9 minutes to go. That's undone a load of the hard work for Andre Castro, who was hoping to bounce back after a difficult weekend at Watkins Glen when he finished in 14th place. And that now means that he's got a chunk more work to do on tyres that maybe are not quite as good as they were at the beginning of the race. We're looking at Loris Hazemans here, a driver who is flying third in the championship standings coming into this one, but amazingly Loris Hazemans has not had a race win so far. He's looking to try and close in on the Ford of Alex Sedgwick. Alex, who did the part season with Brax last year, having done a full season the year before, and is hoping to be able to raise the budget to get back into EuroNASCAR Pro if he can in the 2020 season. But hasn't announced his plans as yet for the real racing season when we get things underway. And now we finally had a shuffle for 9th, 10th and 11th, because Eric Filgueiras has lost 2 positions here. Bavo Fallon has gone through, and also sneaking through now is car number 342, which is the 42 racing car of Alex Fontana. So the yellow and black and white machine of Alex Fontana, the European Formula 3 champion back in 2011, gains the place, as does car number 9, which is Bavo Fallon. Loris Hazemans up into 5th position, coming under pressure from Ulysse Delso. You can see a bit of damage to the tail end of the Hendricks Ford, where he's had a knock in the right rear corner. 7.5 minutes to go. This is the fight for 4th, for 5th and for 6th position. The top 3 have escaped up the road. Jeffrey Rufen leads by over 3.8 seconds now, and a further 4 seconds back from that is Lasse Sorensen. It's only when we get down to 4th, 5th and 6th where it starts to get very interesting, and I wouldn't rule out the car in 6th place getting caught either, which is Andre Castro back on a charge again, trying to work his way back up through the order. To wait and see what he might have left in the tank, Andre Castro. So there goes third, fourth and fifth all together. The sixth place car, sorry, fourth, fifth and sixth all together, with the seventh place car beginning to close in. Out of the left-hander, starting to accelerate again, build the speeds as they head over the crest and in towards what will be the braking area for the next of the right-handers. So they're just coming towards Hans Ernst Bocht now, which is the chicane that brings them up towards Kumo, the penultimate right-hander. And then from there it's on the gas and around the very fast right-hander at Arie Luyendyk, which concludes the 2.676 mile or 4.307 kilometre Zandvoort Grand Prix circuit configuration. Alex Sedgwick starting to feel the pressure. Loris Hazemans has begun to close in. The gap between the pair of them last time round came down by another 0.2 of a second. So another quarter of a second quicker was Loris Hazemans, and now he's in prime position to maybe cue up some sort of move here. The two Fords absolutely together. It's Fords 1 and 2. Lasse Sorensen is the leading Chevy there in third place. Alex Sedgwick and Loris Hazemans in their pair of Fords in fourth and fifth, and then it's Chevys in sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth and 10th at the moment. Speeds build again as they head up towards Rob Slottermacher and then over the crest of the hill in towards Söderflack. Ulisse also, having had his gravelly moment, lost positions, was given the place back very sportingly by Andre Castro, and it's Andre Castro that he's trying to hold up again if at all he can. Is Castro going to be able to squeeze his way through? He has. He's just managed to sneak through and up the inside there. So place gained for Andre Castro and done fairly on that occasion. That light contact when he tried it previously caused them both to have an issue. And now Andre Castro is back up into sixth position and now is going to set his sights on trying to close in on the reigning EuroNASCAR Pro champion from last year. The number 50 Hendricks Ford of Loris Hazemans is just up the road. He's got 4.5 minutes to see whether he can close in. That is somebody heading for pit road by the look of things, and I think that was Simon Pilat, was it maybe, that was heading for pit road there with a rather smoky looking car as we look at our race leader, Jeffrey Ruffin, and that is the gap that exists first to second. Jeffrey Ruffin from Tobias Dauenhauer. Not seen a lot of either of them for the last 10 minutes or so. That's largely because they've built the gap and have settled into their positions, as has this car here, Lasse Sorensen, who was able to capitalise when others were having problems. There's a bit of traffic just up the road though for the fourth place car of Alex Sedgwick, who needs to be careful here. We'll have to hope that traffic moves neat and tidily out of the way, because he can't afford to be compromised. Loris Hazemans is right with him. Sensible driving from the lap car, just stays well and truly out of harm's way. 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th all go through, and Alex Sedgwick will still be continuing to feel the pressure. The 21-year-old used to race in the Creventic series and did a bit of Ginetta Junior racing in the UK, did Alex Sedgwick. He's done some Clio Cup and a bit of Formula 4 racing in France as well, if memory serves me correctly, but is pretty experienced when it comes to iRacing. He's involved in several other series, but in this NASCAR Cup car, which is the standard cars that all have, standard setup for everybody. You choose whether you want the Ford, the Chevy or the Toyota, and other than that, the standard setup is given by the championship organisers, and that's what you have for testing and for the whole evening. They're all pretty evenly matched. Look how close it is still for 4th, for 5th, for 6th and for 7th. Andre, this is a great battle that is going on, and it's just allowed the lead 3 to break away, hasn't it?
Yes, right. I think the only one who can beat Jeffrey Ruffin is himself with a mistake or something like trouble during lap traffic or a problem with the car. I think Tobias Dauenhauer is safe in 2nd place, and then we have this great battle for 3rd. Okay, Lasse Sorensen is also gone, and then we have this great battle for 4th place, Sedgwick, Hazemans, Castro and Delso. And I think it was a very nice move by Andre Castro, giving back that position to Ulisse Dissot, despite losing several positions while doing it, going back and then overtake him in a fair manner. And now Andre Castro is trying to get back ahead of this group. I think he could be a little bit faster than Hazemans and Sedgwick. I think he's the fastest guy in the group right now, but he's stuck between those guys. He has to take a look, what are the guys ahead of me doing, what is Ulisse Dissot doing behind me. He has to have his eyes in the mirrors and to the front. I think that is a very uncomfortable position Andre Castro is in. I think the best positions are for Elise Dussault and Alex Sedgwick, because they just have to focus in one way.
I agree. Let's have a quick look. What's this? This is Ben Kriener getting involved, and unfortunately that's put Ben Kriener into the barriers. But I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, the Andre Castro, I think, was very sporting doing what he did and giving that place back. Maybe he was considering that had he not have given it back because of the contact, that race control might have looked at it and given him a penalty. So by giving the place back, he's not lost as much time as he would have done with something like a drive-through penalty, if that was maybe what race control had have deemed was appropriate. So maybe there was a bit of rolling the dice there and thinking that, yeah, I might lose a few places giving back the position to Ulysse Delceau, but it's far better than having something like a drive-through penalty being enforced. Well, the clock is now showing there are less than 60 seconds to go, so our race leader will now be on the final lap. We go back on board with Andre Castro, looking at the black car, the Hendricks Ford all over the place. Lots of arm twirling being done there by Loris Hazemans as the tail end of the car stepped away. Power oversteer coming out of the corner, and he just managed to hang on to it as the car briefly skipped sideways. And now he is still looking to both apply the pressure to the 78 of Alex Sedgwick that sits ahead for Brax Racing, supported by EVP, and also try and defend from Andre Castro and Ulysse Delceau. Let's just hope that they all don't bump into each other on the final lap, which is what we are on now. Jeffrey Ruffin and Tobias Steinhauer and Lasse Sorensen a long way up the road, so no such worries for that three. But this has been a great fight over the course of the last few laps for 4th, for 5th, for 6th and for 7th position. It's not gone smoothly for any of them, probably in that 4, other than Loris Hazemans. Everybody else has had a little issue at some point, but they head up towards the braking area for the next little complex of corners with the 2 Fords ahead of the 2 Chevys. Sedgwick from Hazemans, then Andre Castro from Ulysse Delceau. And time is running out for any shuffle in this order now. Race leaders will be heading over the start-finish line any second, I would have thought. And yeah, bang on cue, the camera changes and shows me Jeffrey Ruffin heading up towards Kumo, ready to take the checkered flag. Is Andre Castro going to have one last nibble at what is going to be Loris Hazemans? Well, he had a go there, and that might open the door for Ulysse Delceau, but Delceau's on the curbs to try and avoid any contact as well. Jeffrey Ruffin is about to take the checkered flag and heads over the start-finish line to grab the win. Tobias Dauenhauer will finish in 2nd position. You can just see in the distance coming over the start-finish line. Lasse Sorensen will finish in 3rd. Who's going to finish in 4th? It is going to be Alex Sedgwick comes through to finish in 4th position. A season's best for Alex Sedgwick as he finishes in 4th place. Loris Hazemans finishes in 5th place, and what was a great fight that was going on between them all. Andre Castro finishes in 6th place, Ulysse Delceau in 7th. Alessandro Brigatti started 3rd, finished 8th, didn't quite happen for him in the end. Bavo Fallon finishes in 9th place, and Alex Fontana completes the top 10. But that was some really good racing there. There were a few little incidents along the way, but we didn't have the big one that we had at Watkins Glen a couple of weeks ago. And certainly for Jeffrey Ruffin, that has gone perfectly to plan. That, if we include the wins that he's taken in the heats, now means that he has won 4 races over the course of the esports season for 2019, the EuroNASCAR Esports season. So we will await the drivers to ready up for us in commentary. We will see whether we can bring you a confirmation of the results. The drivers are all busy doing donuts and celebrating another great evening of EuroNASCAR Esports racing. And if we can just get confirmation then of the results popping up, we can guide you through that. And I think we've probably got some more clips from Moss to look back at some of the action from 2019 season. So confirmation of the results. Jeffrey Ruffin claims the win. Tobias Dauenhauer in 2nd place. Lasse Sorensen finishes in 3rd place. Ahead of Alex Sedgwick in 4th. Loris Hazemans and Andre Castro complete the top 6. Ulysse Delceau was in 7th. Alessandro Brigatti in 8th place. Bavo Fallon in 9th. And Alex Fontana in 10th. Then it was Andreas Jukemsen in 11th, ahead of Eric Filgaris, Mikael Bantegam, Davide Delara, Brian Krul, Ben Kriener, and then in 17th place, that is where we see Antonio Pavida. Giorgio Maggi finished in 18th place, and then as we head outside of the top 18, Nave Talar in 19th, Stefano Gustavalle completes the top 2020. So we're going to grab a quick word with the first of our drivers who's already joined us in the commentary box. Jeffrey Ruffin, well done. A dominant win. You got the break early on, and well, now that means that's your first main championship race, but your fourth if we include all the heat wins that you've had.
Yeah, we had a good win now, so really happy with it. Was aiming for that win, so it looks promising already, the heat and the qualifiers. So I cannot thank enough everyone from Hendrik Motorsport, from Orion, from Dutch NASCAR fans, everyone. Thank you for all the help, and now up to the neck for.
You look at your consistency that you've had this year, Jeffrey. You finished in the top, well, not just the top 10. You finished in the top 8 in every race so far.
Yeah, it looks really good. So I'm happy with it. It was a bit managing the tires at the end, so to got something to play with if Tobias was coming close. So yeah, we managed that gap really well. So
you now get a couple of weeks break, but that gives you time to test, ready for Indianapolis the next round in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, that's right. Now up to Indianapolis and see what we can do there. Go for the Ben again.
No, stage week.
Well, well done on the win, Jeffrey. Congratulations. That puts you right at the sharp end of the championship.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll grab a quick word also if we can with the driver that finished in second position, Tobias Dauenhauer. Tobias, well done. Congratulations. Great result.
Yeah, thank you. It was a good race for me. At the beginning, I tried to manage the tires, but Jeffrey was too fast for me. Congrats to him. He did a fantastic race, and I think this was the maximum I could do.
You look at the fact that he got the break earlier on, and then you sort of were looking in your mirrors and nobody was there. How difficult is it to still maintain that concentration and not make a mistake when you're not under pressure?
It's really difficult, and it's also a good training for the real race car driving, because you have to focus a lot and till to the end. So it's hard to concentrate the whole race on.
You came into this evening lying 10th in the championship standings. You'd had, a 13th and a 12th at Brands Hatch and Watkins Glen, respectively. That's going to move you, haven't done the math, but that's going to move you more towards the sharp end, maybe inside the top 6, half dozen in the championship.
Yeah, that's my aim. My aim was during the season to fight for the front positions, and now that happened, so I'm really happy with that. And I try to focus on for the next races and finish under the top 3.
Well, very well done indeed. Congratulations. It was great to see you. Great to see you not just getting inside the top 10, but getting on the overall podium and runners-up spot. A win next time out at Indianapolis?
Yeah, I'm happy for Indianapolis, and now the training began for this race. So I have to improve a lot during Indianapolis, and then I hope I can fight for the front positions again.
And the final question: what does it feel like to beat your Hendricks Motorsport teammate Loris Hazemans, the reigning EuroNASCAR Pro Champion?
Yeah, it's a good feeling, and it's also a very good result for Hendricks Motorsport. I mean, Jeffrey won the race, and I finished second. So the best we can do, I think.
Yeah, very well done indeed. Congratulations. Look forward to chatting to you when we head towards Indianapolis. Well done. So there we go. That's our top 2. We've now got our third place driver to chat to as well, Lassie Sorensen. Lassie leading the championship, and it's another top 3 finish, a load more points towards your tally. Well done.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was a good race. Sadly, I had a crash in the middle of the race, so had to fight the whole race with damage on the car. But that's how it goes. Anyway, I'm quite happy with the P3 in the end.
What exactly happened? Because we saw you running side by side with Alessandro Brigatti as you went through the fast parts of the circuit, and I think did you take too much curb and it just pushed you into him, or how did it happen?
Yeah, the track is not so wide, so the problem was we were going through a corner, which is basically impossible. So I thought he was gonna go a bit off the throttle, so I could use the whole track, but I misunderstood him a bit and went into the side of him.
So he went off into the barriers on the right. You sort of went across the grass, and by the sounds of it, then did touch the barriers on the left. And what had that done to the car then? Just talk us through the damage that you were carrying.
I had a lot of problems when I had to turn to the right. I had massive oversteer all the time, and then when I had to turn left, I had massive understeer. So I think the whole chassis was a bit bended all the way. So
the good thing is, because it's virtual damage, and it's easy to repair, ready for Indianapolis.
Yeah, I will take the bill and pay it, so no problem.
And another thing, I suppose, is that you finished ahead this evening of Alan Day wasn't able to compete. He was a bit late arriving home. He was second in the championship coming into this one. Loris Hazemans was third in the championship. You finished ahead of those. You've actually stretched your championship advantage.
I'm not sure about who is P4, but yeah, if that's right, then I'm very happy for it. So we have to keep on for the next couple of races and make sure we will be up there. Maybe a bit more practice next time. Zandvoort was a bit too hard with only 20 laps. So
what about Indianapolis? Is that a circuit that you're used to on iRacing? Have you tested these cars already?
Not really, to be honest. So I guess I'll go in a day or two before and then start practicing a bit.
Well, very well done indeed. Congratulations, Lassie. More championship points, as you say.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and we've got another driver that now comes to join us in the commentary box who finished in 4th position. Best result of the season so far. Well done, Alex Sedgwick.
Trying to hold off obviously Loris for most of the race. For some reason, I've been busy this week, so I had about 2 laps of practice, which was hard work. But yeah, really good fun. It's nice to obviously be up at the front, and made it more than 2 corners as well, which is much better than Watkins Glen.
I mean, you're a driver that's got stacks of iRacing experience, and in particular in these cars as well, because I know you're involved in other E-series that are going on at the moment. So finally it's good to get that monkey off your back for what's been a difficult start for the year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've done, I do a lot on iRacing, and I do a lot with sort of the stock car stuff, but mainly ovals. So it's been a bit of a learning curve to kind of teach myself to drive on road courses on a sim again. But also, obviously, like the little quirks of this car, and obviously the car through iRacing. That you don't have so much feedback as you do in real life. So it's little bits to learn, but obviously we're making progress. So it'd be nice to go sort of three spots higher next time. Would be great.
I'm sure that's exactly the answer I would expect, Alex. And we've spoken to Tobias Dauenhauer. He knows what he's doing when we are allowed to go racing for real in the 2020 season. We know that Lassie Sorensen is also going to step up to EuroNASCAR Pro. You're, I think, one of those drivers that still hasn't announced what's happening yet. It's coming down to budget, I guess, is it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have absolutely no idea whether I'll be racing, retired, part-time, who knows, but I'm sure we'll work something out. Obviously, with everything going on, there's a lot of question marks, obviously, about racing and everything like that. So we'll see. It'd be cool to obviously be back in EuroNASCAR. NASCAR is kind of where I want to be. So hopefully we can sort something out for sure.
Let's hope so, because you can't retire at 21. I'm not letting you. There we go. So there's Alex Sedgwick as well. Well done, Alex, on 4th position. So we've spoken to our top 4 drivers. Maybe we can sort of have a quick catch up with Andre as well. I think we've also maybe got some MOST highlights from the Saturday of last year that we can look up. I'll just have a quick chat to Andre before we then sort of have a look at the MOST highlights, and then we'll wrap things up. Andre, another great evening, wasn't it? Really chuffed for Jeffrey Ruffin. He's the most successful drive we've got in the esports series now. 3 heat wins, 1 every week, and today he finally got the main race.
Yes, you're absolutely right. He won so many heat races, and I told you before the main race that he's one of those guys who's going to win a race in the EuroNASCAR Esports Series, and he did it during his home race at the Circuit Park Zandvoort. So I think there would be no better place to grab this win. And we have the 4th different winner in 4 different rounds, including the prologue at Daytona. So we see that we have a competitive grid here in the EuroNASCAR Esports Series. The racing is improving. Everybody's getting closer together, and I think we have a great championship battle going on. The next stop is the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The NASCAR Xfinity Series will drive on the road course later this year when we go back to real racing. And yeah, we have a virtual race on the road course of Indianapolis before that with NASCAR cars. So I'm really looking forward to it.
You and me both, yeah. The main race wins. Andre Castro in the prologue, Guillaume de Flandre, Brand Catch, and Mikael Smidlitz, Watkins Glen, and now we add Jeffrey Ruffin to that list as well. So we're going to have a quick look back. We showed you some of the highlights from Most in the Czech Republic in Czechia when we were there last year, the Sunday races. But let's have a quick look back at what happened on the Saturday races. And remember, in the revised calendar, we'll be heading there in November. So let's look back at the Saturday races, Most 2019. At Most. It was a win for Nicola Rocca in the NASCAR Elite Pro Division. That gave him his 4th career win on that occasion. And Giorgio Maggi claimed 3 wins over the season, but the one he took at Most was his 2nd of the year. Beautiful, beautiful conditions there last year. Whether it will be as warm when we head there in November, we can only find out as and when we get there. So maybe a few final words from Andre as we wrap up what has been another great evening of racing. As you say, Jeffrey Ruffin, so pleased for him that he's claimed his first win. Tobias Dauenhauer I've been hugely impressed with, but it's nice to see again solid performances from some drivers like Lassie Sorensen and Andre Castro, who regardless of where we go each week seem to be there or thereabouts.
Yes, and we see that the drivers who are fast in the real world are also fast in the virtual world. But when you start sim racing, it's not easy to adapt to this particular style of racing. And those guys who have experience or have a good feeling for being in a simulator, they have now the advantage. And we see that those guys can have some very clean battles at the front, nose to tail, very close together, and they still manage to not wreck, to do everything in a clean way. And we saw that very fair play move by Andre Castro when he hit Luis Del Sol in the back and then slipped back to give this position back. So it was fair play, nice racing, clean battles, everything was fine in this race. I think the Zandvoort race here in the EuroNASCAR Esports Series is one of the best we've seen so far.
I couldn't agree more. And we will do it all again. We will head to Indianapolis for the next round that takes place on the road course there on the 2nd of June, 2 weeks time. So that's it for the moment from Andre Weigel, who has continually joined me in commentary box, the virtual commentary box. We heard from the EuroNASCAR CEO, Jerome Galpin, earlier on, and also our very special guest, the iRacing sales manager and director, Otto Zebany, who joined us for a brief interview. But from Andre and myself, Mark Werrell, that's all from a virtual Zandvoort. Join us in 2 weeks' time when we'll get things back underway again for round 4 of the EuroNASCAR Esports Series in conjunction with iRacing at Indianapolis. Until then, goodbye.